quite synonymous with his recent play. Remember, they've been playing with EasyHoon, putting a bang on a champion that can carry makes a lot of sense. When he's with EasyHoon, when he's with this more passive style mid laner, super aggressive Vayne player, but he actually compensates well when Faker starts to draw the aggro, plays a bit more defensive.
A couple interesting bans there. The Evelynn and the Lulu banned out. Looks like it might be a first pick Azir. What do you think, Monty?
Well, they're going to take it away.
So.
60% of the games in the last series, Azir was banned against Nagne. Now the victor is still up, but Azir can put on the pressure early, and that's probably smart. We do see Nagne is 9-2 on Azir, so definitely one of his better champions, but this gives up the Rex side.
9-1 this season, and look, I'd argue that Faker's not even the best Azir player on this squad. He's 3-0 for the season, but EasyHoon, an amazing brother to me. Wow! A
Vi and Braum. Really? I mean, if anyone was going to pick a random Vi, I thought it'd be Bengi. They banned the Evelynn out as well. Thought maybe it was going to be a Rex side.
So let me reason this out. You see Azir, you're expecting Peel for a hyper carry, the likes of a Cotmore, Vayne banned away obviously, but a champion along those lines like the Ashe that they're flashing. Suddenly, doesn't matter whether you have the Emperor's Divide for Peel. Vi is Assault and Battery, targeted, gonna get right onto the Ashe, and it's still locked in.
I guess so. Will it be the Elise though? Can they stop this Vi from coming in with that? And before all this too, Fiora and Gangplank are available. These have been spammed so hard by these guys in solo queue right now. Will we see those picks today?
One of the most interesting stories that people may not know going into this, and there's a LeBlanc in 5:15. That is
Okay, this is exciting, Monte Cristo. We already said Vi, excellent backline threat. Remember, all the top liners with backline threat are kind of out the meta. Suddenly, LeBlanc, another champion that led to the rise of champions like Ashe, of backline threats, was the fact that LeBlanc saw so many nerfs. The fact that you couldn't play this assassin that could blow up in a mobile AD carry, and suddenly Ashe, Bang in particular, is looking so exposed on a no-escape champion.
Well, we got some Cloud Templar trolling in there with the Amumu. Now what's the pick really going to be for SK Telecom? Zyra would be pretty good if you throw that ultimate down on top of your carry when the LeBlanc, when the Vi come in, maybe, but I don't think we're going to see that.
It feels like SKT are playing the power picks and KT are playing the counter picks in this draft. They go for Maokai with no top laners picked up. There could be the Fiora, an excellent lane matchup. Acorn showed it for LGD. SKT have the pre-plan, and KT, it almost feels like echoes of MSI Game 5.
Very interesting to see the LeBlanc. You know, the Vi has been played in the LPL playoffs, so that is something that we're seeing, and specifically against these low mobility AD carries, it does make sense. We're going to see what they end up taking last. They've held off, of course. KT likes to counterpick that top lane. And we thought Faker's been playing a lot of Fiora and Gangplank in solo queue. Sunday's been playing a lot of Fiora and Gangplank in solo queue. Are these going to be major picks tonight? Someday has his choice right now.
It's strange that right now the top laner on KT and the mid laner on SKT have essentially the same champion pool. That's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of possible crossover.
Where do they go with this last pick? Fizz versus Maokai, I think is the famous pick. It's banned out in this particular draft. The Fiora we saw do great things, but I think they need to pick for comp. They're already all in. Vi's going all in. LeBlanc is going to try and distort all over the face of Ashe. So another champion with backline threat is exactly what you want to see with this last pick.
Yeah, that Gnar can scoop everybody up and make things very easy for KT to take out a vulnerable Ashe. And that's what it's going to be, the Gnar. Locked in. Gonna have to wait for that Fiora Gangplank, I guess.
Taking that favorable matchup, I'm very curious after all the LeBlanc nerfs that came through, whether this is going to be a solid pick. It's worth noting that when LeBlanc was pre-nerf, we did see Nagne play it quite a lot. In fact, he had some very good performances on that particular champion. And in terms of interactions with Azir too, it's worth noting that her distortion, when she moves in, it is a dash, so it can be blocked by the Azir wall. But when she goes back to her starting point, it's a blink, so you can get back over the Azir wall if Faker casts it after the initial dash.
Makes sense. Well, already some pretty crazy picks in game number 1. I did not expect to see that Vi. Braum is interesting as well, too. In the top lane, Marin on the Maokai versus Someday on the Gnar. Someday taking that favorable matchup, like we just said.
Very standard matchup. Gnar has that edge, just being able to freely auto-attack the melee champion.
You got the melee.
But very high sustain coming through from Maokai. I want to talk about the jungle, though. Vi versus Elise. We talked in the pregame, you could see in the interviews, unleashing Peekaboo on the map, getting this guy roaming, one of the best ways to do that is a lane swap. And the other thing a lane swap does is it takes pressure off the Vi to make plays in the very early game. You want to hide Vi in the jungle just like the Sejuani. Okay, she can duel better, but if you can hide her to level 6, so incentivized to get the lane swap is KT Rolster.
Mid lane, Faker on Azir, Nagne on LeBlanc. LeBlanc, of course, not quite as strong as she used to be. Faker's Azir, we'll see how that's going, and bang on Ashe. Corki will be played by Arrow. This Ashe going to be a high priority today. We know about that. Wolf on his famous Alistar, and Peekaboo on Braum. We'll see if he can roam and make some plays. But it is time, guys. Game number 1 of the Grand Finals. The Telecom War begins again right now. SKT versus KT. Let's get in the game. And welcome everyone to Summoner's Rift. This is it, SK Telecom T1 versus KT Rolster. Back again after 2 years. The last time we saw these teams meet in the Grand Finals, it was one of the most epic 5-game sets we've ever seen in League of Legends, and I've got a feeling this match will not disappoint. SKT moving a little bit into the enemy jungle, just trying to get a few wards down early on, it looks like, warding that blue buff.
Super important for both teams to scout out that lane swap. I just mentioned during the pregame that we really see KT pick a lineup that's incentivized for the lane swap. Just go back to the previous series we saw, KT versus KOO, the semi-final of this tournament. Game 1, when Peekaboo was anchored into lane, just peeling for his hyper carry, KT looked all at sea. They lost their early invades, they lost their early form, the tempo was gone, and they were easily beaten by the KOO Tigers. Game 2, get Peekaboo, increase the leash on this player, let him get out of lane, and suddenly things look so much better for KT Rolster.
And they're going to get that lane swap. They had an early ward close to the turret to see if anyone was entering the brush and on that top side, so we will in fact see the lane swap go through in the end. Ward on the blue buff by SK Telecom right now, on the enemy blue that is. So when this goes through, we have to talk about the Braum, because they first picked Braum and SKT opted to take the Ashe into it, so a lot of burden on Peekaboo to block those arrows in this game.
Just think about the draft. How many times did KT have the answer? They picked the Vi proactively and still Ashe was opted into it. Maokai is still blind picked. Okay, a big win ratio on this champion, but so susceptible to counter picks. Gone with Gnar for more of the team fight. Certainly not a hard lane counter matchup, but SKT was super confident. They came in pre-planned, and KT, it seems at least in the draft, they had all the answers.
Now, talking about Vi versus Elise here, is Vi the type of jungler rather right now that can actually get into the enemy jungle and duel with Elise early on? You can't find a lot of champions that can do that.
Vi is very strong because of her percent damage that she can deal in the jungle, so it really does make it difficult to duel with Vi. Now, Elise is very strong, but I don't think it's a risk that you necessarily take. And, you know, Vi gets incredibly strong in the late game, not only because of her initiation, but because she can shred tanks.
Right.
Elise is super strong in the duel. I take her every time just because she has targeted abilities. If you miss that Vault Breaker, which you max first in the jungle, in any type of skirmish, you can't get out. You are dead, and you do not have the damage to duel. So avoiding that, and the lane swap does a great job there with this jungle follow. It's a long time into the game till Score is really susceptible to getting 1v1 by Bengi.
Yeah, and we did see a little bit of interesting jungle pathing here by both teams. With the ward down on the KT blue buff by SKT, they bypassed that even though they started jungling on the weak side, went to red and then to enemy blue. So they didn't take any risks right there, made sure they got that, and SKT responded by taking the enemy blue themselves. Marin playing it cautiously. Now they're going to know he's there, but they're going to see Wolf and Bengi, or just Wolf there too.
Probably not going to want to try to dive that. Marin, of course, not teleporting up. Way too dangerous to do that into the lane swap situation when you know that enemy jungler is at your blue buff.
So teleport advantage goes to SKT early. Remember, SKT, their top lane is in the top lane, so he has the teleport open for Dragon, and Dragon Control already there for Someday because he's already in the bottom lane. But if they ever harass Someday out, they'll definitely have that global advantage for the next 4 minutes or so.
Score and Peekaboo really are trying to be this roaming gank squad already, but no such luck finding anyone at the moment. Maybe they'll find Bengi here in a minute or two, but I don't think so.
They're also not going to see that pink ward in the brush, nor clear that out, so a bit of support wars in the top river right now. One ward going down, Trinket from Peekaboo.
Wolf knows that ward is there now, at least. Now we have somewhat of a 2v2 in the top lane. Marin and Wolf, obviously, for SK Telecom. Peekaboo harassing Wolf right away. They can maybe get some damage done with that passive early on, getting that stun. They do poke out Wolf quite a bit.
I do like these lane assignments that we've eventually gotten for SKT, because remember, the solo experience is actually going to Ashe, so it gets her to level 6 earlier, gives them that initiation earlier. Corki and Ashe both scale with levels exceptionally well. Corki for lane pressure with the rocket, and Ashe for that all-in potential, that initiation potential with the arrow.
Whoa.
As Nagnei's doing some nice trades. This is such a surreal, bizarro world where in the mid lane, Nagnei versus Faker, it's Nagnei that needs to be making the aggressive moves, because he's on the champion that has that earlier power spike. He's on the lane control champion, and Faker, he's pretty happy to just farm it out till late.
Well, yeah, Nagnei's got the ignite and everything too, so the kill pressure definitely against Faker at the moment, which is not something we see a whole lot. Looks like score may try to come down here. We'll see if Nagnei can bait Faker in. And Faker, for all of his over-aggressive tendencies in the mid lane from time to time, I think he's going to try to play this one pretty safely. You don't go over-aggressive with a Nazir against LeBlanc Vi.
He is an aggressive player, though. 25.8% of his team's deaths compared to Nane, just 20%, so 5% difference. Think about how Faker plays when he's ahead. He's always auto-attacking that turret on a champion like Victor. He's always trying to get chip damage, end the laning phase, and roam around. So this is just different for him, because he's much more on the defensive lane choice in the Azir. So his mindset at odds with his champion.
Coming in, doing a little bit more damage to Faker. Not a lot of mana, though, so we weren't going to see the all-in quite yet, of course.
Yeah, also that very dangerous possibility. Bengi was just there clearing out his pink ward. Now, SKT, like you're saying, Papa, playing the defensive style is in their interest right now. Honestly, what is going to kill Maokai and Alistar in the late game? It's not going to be Corki. It's probably not going to be LeBlanc unless she gets very fed. There's a very small amount of damage on KT Rolster, and a lot of it is coming in through AP, so the Aegis can just shut it down, and here we
Flash
go.
Cocoon, they get the flash on a Peekaboo as well, too. So jungle flash for support flash. Bengi trying to make a play there.
5v5 team fights will be so interesting just because Ashe is super susceptible to being dove. But then, as you mentioned, KT have no real tank killing potential. They're kind of at the whim of a champion like Maokai, who should live so long during the fight. So I guess just really factoring that in, big incentive for KT to control these objectives, because they fall behind in objectives and have to initiate fights on this team. Gonna be tough.
Bang's got to be a bit careful there. Looks like Score is going to recall unless he cancels it right now. Bang. Safe enough, just pushing up the lane with that volley. Not going to get dove. Marin forced the flash, though. Here comes Arrow. Peekaboo throwing up the shield. He's going in. Marin in a lot of trouble. Twist advance. Back onto Peekaboo. Peekaboo gets low. Oh, he gets out, though. And first blood goes to KT Arrow.
Oh, that is huge. We talked about those first blood stats. They are very in favor of both of these teams to a degree that we don't frequently see, but especially KT, they don't get that first blood. They only win a third of their games. Will that come true here?
It's a very surprising stat. You do wonder how many of those games came from the pre-Peekaboo era, but let's see what happens here in the mid lane.
It's effectively a different team in the second half of the round robin. One best-of-3 loss, of course, to their opponents today. SKT, that was so close. Level 3. It looked like he had a lot of health, but of course the base health is so low. The heal was on point and just lived through it all, did Peekaboo.
Very, very close call, but we do see Peekaboo, of course, helping to make plays like he always does.
Really interesting that Someday is itemizing the cowl first in this. We almost never see that. Most Nars, of course, want to opt into a Hex Drinker matchup and then try and split push for a while. But what this says to me is that KT knows that they're on a clock here. They need to get the tankiness. They need to fight around Dragon now and get team fight stats as soon as possible.
Oh, there's Arrow. Peekaboo blocks it, still gets stunned. Gonna take some damage, knocked right back into Bang, right into the cocoon. Teleport's coming down for KT, but they can't save Peekaboo. Repel, will it allow Bengi to live? Maybe. No, taking so much damage. Arrow with his second kill of the game already at about 9 minutes. A kill on each side. But KT coming in with a bit of an edge here on Dragon.
And you'll take that every time. Score level 6 now. They're waiting to see if they can get some sort of play off. But no, SKT not going to take that. No Dragon attempt from KT, still a little bit risky.
And Arrow, he's definitely ahead of the curve. Maybe he can pick up an Infinity Edge and do some damage to tanks. He's 2-0 and now has red buff as well. And suddenly, Bang, even over-leveled, even with the situation that he's been in this game, he has to play from behind.
It did show a bit of the danger that Ashe presents, of course. I mean, even throwing up that shield, Peekaboo got stunned, he got killed. KT really needs to be careful. If that arrow would hit, well, arrow later in the game, it would not be very good for the AD carry.
One thing about Someday was the Gnar bar was absolutely perfect. Comes in the Mega Gnar form, has plenty of time to do work, so that was a great TP call from KT. I was a little bit nervous when I saw the TP coming in, but as soon as I saw him in Mega Gnar, all that just melted away.
Score is going for the Warrior Enchant this game, definitely going for the offensive build path, trying to pick up some of the damage slack from the likes of Arrow, at least in the mid game. Seeing nice little duel up top, but Score, the one thing you can say is can't really itemize that early Sightstone in this matchup as much as Faker.
Oh, Nagne, a lot of damage onto Faker there. Got to be careful. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Peekaboo and Arrow getting pretty aggressive. Bang's got his ultimate back up. Is right there though, so trying to bait in all in.
Awkward.
Misfire by Someday on that ultimate on the top side. He's got to get out.
He hops away, should be able to make it out. He will. Meanwhile, more dueling. Such an aggressive laning phase here. They're going to go in. Whoa! Big combo onto Bang, Assault and Battery, and Arrow. That's his third kill. Already, KT is taking apart SKT.
And it's a preview of late game team fights. Everyone getting in there on the immobile AD carry. Ashe used both summoners as well. It's going to be hard to navigate these fights if you're Bang.
That was just a beautiful gank by Score, Arrow, and Peekaboo down to the bot lane. CC was pretty perfect. Bang legitimately had no chance.
Well, that's what happens against Vi a lot of the time. And
yep.
But they opted into it, Monty. They saw the Vi, a first round Vi, and they still lock in the Ashe. We knew Ashe would be a premium pick in this series, but at some point you have to make up for the fact that KT have obviously accounted for an Ashe pick.
Did it seem a bit too much like SKT approached this draft from, this is our draft and we're sticking to it?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they did. I think they wanted to shut down the Azir, which has been Nagne's most dangerous pick, and they wanted to take away the Ashe because that's what Arrow played in the blind pick, and he and Peekaboo with that Ashe Leona lane just went to town against Ku.
Here's a simple fact. SKT blind picked their top laner, blind picked their mid laner, and blind picked their AD carry in this draft.
Pretty bold. Pretty bold. And SKT is certainly starting to pay for it. Looks like things are heating up around Dragon for the moment anyway.
And Ashe, the emergency build is real. Berserker Greaves, pickaxe, and an Avarice Blade. Say goodbye to damage anytime in the next 15 minutes.
Well, I mean, at this point, Bang is he's an ult bot, right? He's got to hit with the arrow, get the stun, and try to get SKT kills that way. Maybe Faker can start carrying on this Azir.
Well, who's going to follow it up, though, with more damage is the question.
That's
Faker
the tricky part.
Has the Nashers, but meanwhile, Nagne decided to not quite complete his Morello Namicon and just head straight into a needlessly large rod. Looks like he had a large chunk of change when he backed and just went for the flat damage.
The Runeglaive is picked up by Elise, so it's going to be a damage shot. Now, of course, that is at the price of tankiness, specifically when the next health items are complete, but bit of decent mid-game damage from Ben.
Yeah. Score's ultimate just barely not up, and you got to wonder if he would have maybe gone for that. Faker a little bit out of position there before getting back to lane. KT seems to have the angle onto Dragon for the moment, but backing up, and SKT still has some decent wards around the Dragon Pit as well, so still no Dragon. It's getting to be a late one.
Well, SKT delaying this Dragon is very important for them. They still are in this game just because we will see KT's composition fall off, and they're just going to take a mid lane right now.
Man, that turret died very, very quickly, and that gives SKT the turret lead. And like you said, man, I mean, SK or KT needs to make something happen now, and killing Faker might be it. But no, Nagne backing up. Still has not popped that Ignite all game.
And this is the new Azir, of course, the new age Azir with the Nashor's Tooth. It was already a matchup where Azir could just plop down the W, has the auto attack and attack speed to take down your turret, but the LeBlanc Azir matchups change even more now that your turret, unless you're rotating multiple members to relieve pressure, will die instantly if the likes of Elise or Alistar enter a lane against a LeBlanc.
Yeah, more action up in the top lane as the tanks fight for a moment and then run away from each other. That's the top lane, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like this Azir turret's going to get taken out pretty soon. And SKT. Down in gold slightly, but they're delaying, they're surviving, and that's what they need to do.
Now, they were surviving from the draft phase when they gave basically 3 counter picks over to KT. It's all on Faker once again to create the pressure of multiple men, because look at the difference between his AD carries. Nothing completed from Bang compared to Trinity Force and a lifesteal pickup from Arrow. He's so far ahead of Ash.
Certainly is a bit worrisome.
And
SK Telecom.
Yeah, well, KT, they need to keep putting on the pressure right here. The fact that they lost their main turret means that they lost a lot of dragon control, but they have to start fighting now. This is when they're strong. Fight now. Group, try and take a dragon, force them into an engagement, because someday, sure, he can farm up in this top side, but he is not opting into a split push build here, so he's going to be most useful with the rest of his team, especially since his magic resist build is super efficient right now because of how far behind Bang is.
I really am wondering, like, what is stopping KT from going for this dragon? Maybe they finally are here.
I mean, the one thing that strums through is the item build. When you go Warrior and Chat, when you get the later sight zone, we haven't seen the division.
Dragon being taken. SKT comes in. Can they just take it this way? Who's going to get it? Who's going to get it? SKT takes the first dragon. KT just giving it over. Marin teleports down. Someday Aaron Meganar. No angle for the ultimate, though. Trying to come in. There's a three-man ult. Big stun, but where's the follow-up? Ember's Divide used immediately. Nagne coming to the side. Destroys Bang. And SKT got the dragon, but they're on the run now. Kill on each side. Faker gets one. Nice flash knockup from Wolf. Arrow's gonna get taken out. The double kill for Nagne. Meanwhile, onto Faker, and they're trading fairly evenly. And looks like that's gonna be all it is, unless they can track down Nagne, trying to find him in this red buff pit.
I got to be really careful about this. He has a lot of damage already to this point of the game. Can he evade Wolf for long enough?
Execute. Will he get it? One more hit. He's running, man. He thinks he can just get away. Operation Get Nagne is in action. Here comes Bengi. It's the great Nagne chase 2015. Bengi trying to head him off the pass here, but Nagne ducking back towards that dragon to come over the wall. Will he? No, goes back to the turret. I think execution is the only answer. Wow, Nagne just not giving up. Ash is coming. Will the arrow come in? There's the volley. They get him. He took the damage to the turret and bang! Finally gets the kill. Nagne, you could have just died to the turret, man. You gave Bang a kill.
He thought he could get out of that one, obviously, but with the mobility boots on the Alistar, let's take a look at that team fight again. Now, it looks good for KT because someday it was in a perfect place, but they lock him up immediately.
The Arrow with full health, full mana, and nobody really on top of him, just couldn't put out the damage this fight. It was really unorganized. LeBlanc on one side of the fight, Arrow just completely getting occupied by the likes of Elise, Alistar, and Maokai, who made the difference between AD carries a complete non-factor.
Wow, and man, Faker nearly took out Nagne there, and yeah, Faker really did work on that Azir in that fight too. Helped poke down Arrow, got himself a kill as well. So all in all, things very even. SK Telecom with even a small lead after that.
You really have to like that for SKT. The fact that they were able to take a dragon in that situation early against KT that had hit those early power spikes is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
How does this KT comp work? It's about getting picks. It's got the Vi ultimate targeted engage. Obviously, excellent follow-up as the Arrow.
Arrow on the Someday. Someday trying to get away. Here comes Wolf. Can they get the 2v1? Elise coming down as well. Someday in big trouble. He's out of there. Another kill for Bang. And SKT, they're not just surviving anymore. They're starting to thrive. And if you are KT, you can't allow that. Marin desperately trying to save his turret. I think you might have to let this one go, buddy. Well, keeps it for now.
He's going to get the stun off, but that's not going to do a whole lot. They will trade 1-for-1 in turrets more than likely. Well, KT looks like they're going to have to wait a long time for a wave, but Someday getting a bit overzealous. Here we go, all in.
Faker 1v2 at the moment. Nagne trying to do some damage. Which one is the right one? Pickaboo comes in, goes for the knockup. Marin gets the kill after TPing down to help out his mid laner.
Nagne made a big mechanical error, tried to distort over Emperor's Divide, missed out on the damage of the Mimic as well. Just didn't have the damage to burst down Faker, and the turret pushing will continue.
It's all starting to fall apart for KT now. Are they actually going to go into the base? No, it's not that much of a crazy time yet. Take the turrets. You've got a big lead at the moment. Scoring Pickaboo, trying to make a play on the Bengi. Not going to find one there.
How did this team, who 5 minutes ago had such a mismatch between AD carries, not much control of the map, suddenly it feels like even the Raptors and Wolves are too far for KT to overextend into their own jungle.
Just a huge vision advantage for SKT2. And, you know, this is classic SKT. What are they doing right now? They're splitting up. They're so good at controlling minion waves to put simultaneous pressure on the map. They trade objectives really well. They hung in there in spite of a punishing difference from the KT arrows early, and I think that KT played too scared. They didn't want to push their advantage hard enough when they had it.
You really got to go back to that moment where KT had a good chance to at least start a dragon fight. They didn't do it. Let's watch this play here on the Nagne.
First the distortions cancel, wait for the mimic as well, cancelled by the Emperor's Divide. That's so much damage, completely taken away from Nagne and just assassinated by, of all people, Maokai.
Well, Maokai also had TP advantage there, so they tried to make a play. Instant reaction from Marin.
Marin said he'd lock up the Maokai whenever it's available. We talked about his win rate in the pregame, and it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, 22 games in a row. He has won with that Maokai, and that's a pretty long win rate, man. That is over a season that he has not lost with this champion yet.
Well, and he's 24-1 all time on this champion. It is really his signature pickup alongside that Rumble.
What does it say about a draft if SKT are willing to blind pick all their lanes and still come out the comfortable victors? It feels like KT drafted a comp that dealt very well with SKTs. They executed well for a few minutes, but they just didn't seem to have the proficiency with this type of pick comp to actually get it through after the baby steps of the game.
Well, this is kind of like some of the old issues for KT kind of rearing their ugly head again, right? They've always had a good draft, even when they couldn't win a game to save their life, but right now, good draft, can't seem to execute.
Now Someday builds the Hex Drinker. So this is them really switching gears right now. They've decided they can't really do anything in those team fights anymore. They want to try and play against Marin, but that is going to be a hard split push to manage.
And items show you the mindset of a team. The reason he built Spectre's Cow first, they already had that big advantage on Corki. Group up, take the dragons. You've got the extra health and magic resist to deal with someone like Faker in a team fight, with someone like Elise. And now suddenly, they realize that objective's kind of a forlorn hope, and they're going for this split push build after Maokai is already so strong.
All right, about 6 seconds until Dragon comes up again. SKT with a ton of vision. Is there any way? Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a way KT can stop it, but they kind of have to fight this at this point, don't they? Whoa. Maybe they were going to go for it. Well, Marin going in on the score. Their score could be a little bit in trouble. Marin taking a lot of damage. Wolf looking for an angle. Bang just throwing in that volley. Bengi there as well, too. Knock up on the Sunday. Still pretty tanky, but he's not going to be Mega for a little while yet. Nagne with some damage on the Faker over the side of the wall there. And they force Nagne away. So SKT with the 5v4 advantage, and they can just turn right onto this Dragon.
It's a pretty telling story when Faker's just opened up himself to a LeBlanc and wins a damage trade against that snowball assassin. You look at KT's lineup, you think, okay, Vi can initiate, LeBlanc can get picks, but that's only really if you have the likes of a vision advantage, because in the long lane, you ult a backline carrier's Vi with just a warrior enchant and a Spectre's Cowl. You're just going to die instantly. You're not tanky enough for that. And without the vision control, a lot of KT's comp kind of falls apart.
And in the late game, too, with Score occupying that role as the primary engage on the team, he really actually does need a Randuin's Omen just to follow up.
Banshee Veil, Randuin's Omen, be very nice, but it's not coming anytime soon.
Well, yeah, it'd be great, but you need it to just slow up the other members of the team, because otherwise you only have that single target engage and no one else really cares if Vi is back there.
Nagne slowly pushing this mid lane up right now. Scores like any oh, it's already gone. Of course it's gone, Score. You have a dragonless situation on your hands, but at least they can give the blue buff over to Nagne anyway.
So Arrow, of course, was snowballed early. He's gone for the Bloodthirster, which is his trademark build, but it's kind of a no-damage build, guys. It's not in the late game, especially. These two items together are really about poke around a turret, but they're not really going to be poking. They don't have any initiation to pair with that poke, especially under a turret. Vi is not ulting someone under a turret against the like of the Ashe, Elise, Maokai. So don't really know what this build's going to accomplish, and Bang out of nowhere, pretty healthy in his item build, especially given where he was, what, 12 minutes ago?
Yeah, well, I mean, you give an Ashe 2 kills and 3 assists and some turret gold. That certainly seems to help a little bit, doesn't it? He is still down about 25 CS at the moment, about 30 CS. But when you get those kills, you turn things right around.
Battle for Baron Vision is beginning. Bang going to take a couple big shots right there. Have to be careful. Still early in this game. Ashe is only level 12. And they're not going to really be able to bait this very effectively, SK Telecom, at this point. But remember, the strength of Ashe is that engage out of the black.
That's the thing, is that from nowhere you can get hit by that Ashe arrow. and that can be from across the map. So Bang going back doesn't really even give KT a chance to try to sneak the Baron away or anything.
So Ashe is being picked for the initiation for a lot of things in terms of CC kit, but the initiation is the big thing to bring from a backline AD carry. What's the way you play around something like the Ashe is you get deep vision, and that's one of KT's normal big win conditions as...
Oh, right into the cocoon! Bengi with a great cocoon! Will Nagne get away? He will, but just barely. Wow, Bengi was so ready with that. Arrow just misses. I can't believe Nagne dodged that too.
Checked him with the hawk shot and then was able to get out of the way in the nick of time. Nagne didn't have to use his flash right there. You can see KT getting desperate to make picks.
They got no wave clear, Monte Cristo. It's LeBlanc mid. It's Corki who has a decent amount of poke, but at the same time, Marin is split pushing, and the push train continues.
Yeah, KT falling farther and farther behind. 6,000 gold down now. 3 turrets down. They need to win.
A different game where Score could get that aggressive vision, where suddenly you had vision on Ashe in the background, where you could invade, which of course, that's what KT is all about. They're about getting aggressive vision on camps and then counter jungling with that roam duo of Peekaboo and Score. But Score going for this Warrior Enchant, delaying any sort of Sightstone. Even if you're going Warrior Enchant, it just feels like Sightstone is so core to the win conditions of KT as a team. And skipping out that item, they missed that crucial point at 13, 12 minutes where they needed to start monopolizing this dragon, not be sitting at a 2-0 dragon disadvantage at 25 minutes with a pick comp.
Pretty much. And SKT closing this one out patiently, methodically. They've got the late game power. They have no reason to rush towards the end of this game.
Well, one thing about KT is that they are tenacious. They really do have a never say die attitude, and we've seen them come back in the most unlikely situations this season. They've been able to pull wins out of having 3 inhibitors down, being on their base, and in situations that I didn't think it was possible. But a lot of these situations, they also had some big late game threats to make up for the fact that they were bottled up in their base. This time, unless Nagne is able to get a series of miracle picks, it just doesn't seem that likely.
How do you get them, Monte Cristo, against all the wards that come out from double Sightstone and improved warding totem? Honestly, and this sounds almost crazy to me, you need what, 3-4 improved sweepers? Green wards in your inventory, and just try and force a vision mismatch. Because if there's equal vision or an advantage in vision to SKT, the picks, they're just so tough to pull off.
Pretty much. KT warding their own jungle a little bit more again, but I think he's going to clear one of them out, or not. Deciding it's a bit too dangerous. And with Dragon coming up in a minute, that's not the time you want to get caught.
Just trying to play defensively while they try and build up a bit of a gold bank here, but Faker has kept that mid tower at such an extremely high level of HP for 27 minutes into this game that Marin's Gnar not going to be able to do much to it, and certainly not going to be able to take it out. Score using that Vault Breaker, but has to back off, gets a little scared when he sees that ward inside the red pit.
I think I would too.
Push continues, coming back to the idea of sweepers, still doesn't work that well against SKT because they've got uncleansable, unclearable vision in terms of the Hawk Shot from Ashe, who now has 2 charges. They've even got the saplings for some temporary wards. Getting a situation where you have vision blanketing, it was possible when Bang was so far out of this game that he couldn't really even group this team is so weak.
Oh,
that's
Ashe
an arrow.
Totally whiffs there. They didn't hit anybody with it. SKT, does the fact that that ult is down for a little bit give KT a chance here? Are they going to try to engage on that? Because if they're going to do it, they need to do it fast. The Ashe arrow has a very short cooldown.
We may see them try and take a fight here.
Yeah.
As a result of that cooldown.
I think if you don't do it now, when do you do it?
Try and get a pick, that's about it. They're going to actually just try and push for the mid lane.
Ah, okay. Yep, charging down the mid lane. They give SK Telecom their 3rd dragon. They do take a turret. In response, will SKT come from the side? Peekaboo takes some damage. Here we go. Are they going to go in? Marin goes deep. Faker in a lot of trouble, though. Gets it with the Assaulted Battery. Pushes people away with that Emperor's Revive. Very patient use on that one. Goodbye, Nagne. A kill for Marin and Bang. Untouched in the back. Going after everyone. Goodbye, Peekaboo. A double kill for Marin. Wolf trying to find more plays to make. Someday finally hits Gnar right before he's taken out by Faker. And it looks like this is going to be an ace. And this is almost certainly going to be the final nail in the coffin for KT Rolster.
It's too late. There's no one who can kill Marin right now. Marin just had a free twisted advance, didn't even have to flash for it to get onto Nagne at the start of that fight. And as soon as Nagne's locked down, Marin just walks through the rest of the team with impunity. There's simply not enough damage on KT to take fights from this point forward.
You think taking down Marin's a problem. Wait till you see what Faker takes in the backline when everyone uses all their abilities onto Faker. He lives, push people away, even gets the exit kill onto Nagne. They can't even kill Faker when they choose him as the priority. And as you mentioned, the damage is just not there to kill this tanky front line.
You know, it almost seemed like Faker went around there to draw in the assault and battery because he knew he could push everybody right into SK Telecom's clutches right after it ended.
And if you have to choose one, you're going to definitely choose the Azir to be the one to actually take all that CC because he has that defensive utility. Yeah. If Bang is avoiding the likes of the Vi, the likes of the LeBlanc, job done for Faker, job done for SKT.
Yeah, aside from the early ganks, Bang has been untouched. It shows.
Well, this is also one of those things that happens against SK Telecom. We saw it at that first Dragon fight. We've seen it throughout this game. They are looking for angles on Faker, and this is, we do see a little bit of scrapping here.
How tanky is he?
Very, very tanky, but is he 4v1 tanky? I don't know about that. Maybe trying to save his top laner. Bang trying as well. They're going to keep him alive. Bang goes deep. Never mind. Knockup on the score there. Not going to make it out. And Marin, how tanky is he? Well, he is 4v1 tanky right now. That's how tanky he is. Faker, in the meantime, takes out the Krugs. He's going for the top lane turret as well.
Well, these fights, Marin's going to kill him.
Yeah, I think he will. There's the ultimate. Sapling.
Oh, we got him.
Oh, nice play by Nagne.
Wow, actually, dangerous game right there, helping out.
Certainly did, but it won't help save that inhibitor, I think. Oh, wait, Marin did kill him somehow. Sapling, perhaps? We'll
Sapling from the grave?
I think so. We'll have to go back and see the replay. Either way, SK Telecom takes out their first inhibitor. They're going for their second. Sapling from the grave. It wasn't even the right skin for that, Marin. Faker is completely unafraid of this entire team now.
I think Marin has aggressive positioning. Faker's opting into plenty of aggression from KT.
We talk about Peekaboo being unleashed, but now Faker's unleashed, man. Oh,
there we go.
There we go. Where's the Vi? Push the score in. Vi, are you coming for Azir? Is that what you're supposed to do? Well, guess what? Azir is coming for you.
Wow, that was so perfectly done. Just the knock-up from the wall straight into the pulverize, and SK Telecom just plowing forward in this game. There's the TP from Marin.
It's over. Marin TP's in to help secure this victory as the Nexus goes down, and despite a strong start from KT in the early minutes of that game, SKT will take the early lead. GG.
The question we asked in the draft is, can SKT get away with a greedy draft, blind picking 3 of their lanes? The answer is an emphatic yes.
Well, the answer, I think, is an emphatic once. Because that game really could have gone the other way based on those early kills.
KT opted into those specific builds, though, and they didn't play it out properly. If you want to get those
Telecom. Let's see what gets banned out. Of course, teams swapping sides. This time KT on blue side, SK Telecom on the red side. There's the Vayne and the Shen bans again. Same first bans as we saw in game 1.
I feel like KT need to adjust their picking phase. I thought they picked very intelligently. They had an identity, they just couldn't execute on it. So let's see if they reset and go for this kind of counter pick style, or if they just go for a more comfortable kind. If they get someday on a carry top laner, because that seems to be what KT's really all about.
I think if you're KT here, you really start thinking about first picking the Rek'Sai. That way you don't have to ban out the Evelynn, but they're going to do it anyway, so they may be trying to pick up a first pick Azir here, but that will be banned away. Remember, the Shen and the Azir, also the ban strategy that the KOO Tigers used up against KT.
True, and it nearly worked. That was a very, very close series. And KT's final ban is going to be Kalista on blue side. What's that going to cause SKT to ban out? Lulu, okay. Not wanting to let Someday have that one. It is still a bit of a flex pick anyway.
Speaking of flex picks, it opens up the likes of the Fizz top. We were wondering about Gangplank, we've been wondering about Fiora. Fun to see them hovered, but Fizz is that priority pick that slipped through the picks and bans, and it's going to be locked in.
I wonder how they're going to react to that. Obviously, that will move SK Telecom off of a possible Maokai pickup.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too, because Marin, you know, of course, he talks a big game on this Maokai, and he is 23-0 in his last 23 games on the champion, but that Fizz certainly will give him pause. Are we going to see the Kennen? We have seen SKT run it as support every once in a while. Obviously, it can be run up in the top lane, too. Will they lock it in? The Elise already locked in.
Lane-dominant AD carry duo. Bang and Wolf, they like to stick around together. So if you're parking the likes of Illusion, Kennen, or Kalista again, of course Kalista banned this time, but
there it is.
Really strong laning champion, which makes sense of Wolf, who can pull off the roams, but looks so much more at home, bossing around a 2v2.
Yeah, so 2 more picks over to KT now.
It's interesting, we haven't seen SKT on 5.15 yet. Were they going to keep prioritizing that Rek'Sai? They'd like to early pick junglers for Bengi in general, but the answer is no. They are all aboard with Elise right now. That could give the Rek'Sai over. And as for a flex pick for KT here on the Fizz, Nagne, it is worth noting, has never played a professional game of mid lane Fizz. So that's not something that he's ever showed before, but the same thing could have been said from Kuro, and we did see the KOO Tigers successfully flex that pick earlier in the playoffs.
And I'd almost say it's a little bit more surprising to see Kuro pull that off than it would be Nagne, but they will go ahead and lock in the Thresh Ashe for their bot lane.
Sivir actually being picked up on 5:15 after the ult changes. Faker, will we see one of these champions been spamming? The Gangplank is one of them, Fiora.
I hope so. I really do.
It's going to be another blind pick mid laner. It might be a Fizz, but we'll wait and see what they choose.
The Diana's been so strong. I mean, you have Godvi in China kind of showing everybody the way on this Diana, and it's started to leak into other regions, Korea recently as well.
So Sivir, picked for comp, picked for getting in there onto the Ashe, helping the Kennen get into the backline, helping whoever get into the backline. It's probably going to be a Diana, another person. You have to be so on point with Sivir because her ult is no longer forgiving. If you are not grouped to get that buff straight away, the duration is just a pittance. You don't really get the payoff. So suddenly SKT are going to need to be on point with their grouping. They were in game 1. They have been for most of the season. So understandable pickup, but still, it's 5-15 Sivir. The risk reward, it's changed from the past.
Diana locked in for Faker now. Final 2 picks over to KT.
They're going to be just trying to dissuade the Victor pick here. That's what the Diana is partially here for. Take away the possibility that that comes in, because that has been a backup pick for Nagne in general. Now, I'm not sure what he wants to pick into this, because Nagne was the one who was picking up the Diana in the previous series, and they wanted to shut down too. KT successfully ran the Fizz-Diana combo for a 1-3-1 split push, and now that is no longer going to be available to them.
Looks like it's going to be Rek'Sai Victor anyway. Nagne not afraid of playing into that Diana. It looks like, yep, locked in. Rek'Sai Victor. So what will the final pick for SKT be? Are you convinced that Kennen's going to the top lane? No, I guess not. Malphite locked in. Wow. You know, we have the KOO Tigers in the building right now. They're sitting right in front of us. They're the only team we've seen in Champions play that champion so far this season. It's pretty big. It's great against the Ashe, but you kind of need to group up to make that all work, right?
Well, SKT has to group up. That's really the story here. This is a massive 5v5 combo composition, and they want to get into the back line, and it's going to work. Victor and Ash going to have a very hard time dealing with a Diana Malphite engage with Sivir there, so KT pigeonholed a little bit. Someday I think is going to have to come up huge this game in terms of split pushing to get them the necessary lead.
Think of the flanks as well. Double teleport and a cannon. Even Gorilla on the Ku Tigers showed what you can do with this cannon, even initiating from the support role. So Arrow, I mean, we said it about Bang, it was kind of shut down, but Arrow, his life is so precious this game.
Yeah, Marin on that Malphite. You got this composition is almost like a Ku Tigers homage from SK Telecom, but it's really scary. Bengi back on that Elise again, of course. Had a lot of great cocoons last game score. We'll see how he can do on the rec side. The Vi, not quite as inspiring. Faker on that Diana. First time we've seen him on the champion in a long, long time. Nagne on his very strong Victor, but it's going to be a rough laning matchup for him.
Yeah, Diana does very well against Victor. Can even take a non-combat summoner in teleport and still have a wonderful time against the Victor.
Bank Sivir versus Arrow's Ash, of course, and then Wolf on Kennen versus Peekaboo's Thresh. And that is our lineup for game number 2, guys. KT trying to tie it up versus their rivals, SK Telecom. Let's get in the game and see if they can pull it off. And welcome once again to Summoner's Rift. Teams already getting in position here in our second game of the OGN Summer Grand Finals. You're on Champions Korea.
So Faker on Diana. This is not really a Faker champion. He's only ever played it twice professionally. He's won both times. If we think about Faker's history, his aggressive play style, his love of assassins, it's surprising, honestly, that he hasn't played more Diana previously.
It really is, yeah.
But you know what the exciting thing is, Monty? We hyped up the matchup between the mid laner, the best mid laner potentially in the world in Faker, and Someday, who's certainly been blazing a trail in the top lane. This is a matchup where we do expect to see Faker and Someday tussling up towards the mid to late game. The fact that they both pick up teleports. If Someday cannot actually get rolling this game, cannot answer the split push from Diana, the headaches for KT are massive.
Yeah, Faker just going back to pick up another pot, I believe.
Yeah, once just some more consumables in that lane. Marin holding off on his purchase until he sees what his lane matchup is before he recalls to buy some more items. Bang will be in that top side, and we are going to see both duo lanes heading up into the top lane this time around, and that's going to lock down Peekaboo. A lot of Peekaboo's strengths come from his ability to affect the mid lane matchup, and that sure would be useful here on Diana before she hits level 6.
Will he be able to do it? It's going to be a little bit tougher. The duo lanes going at it in the top lane now.
2v2 terms, you definitely take Sivir Kennen over the Alistair Thresh matchup. So how will KT react to this? Will they be able to create enough pressure to allow Peekaboo and Wolf to try and leave lane and Peekaboo to open up the big places? Bang takes a lot of trade damage.
Yeah, a lot of trade damage. Peekaboo taking a good amount as well, but that was a nice double play. And Peekaboo's Thresh, you know, we've seen what a deadly player he can be on this champion over the course of his career, especially at the end of this season after joining up with KT. For now, though, SK Telecom taking the early lead up in this top lane, pushing it forward a bit.
Marin's going to come back down into the bottom side with some cloth armor, so of course it will be Trinity Force Fizz, and the 80 runes, so he is just going to want some extra protection early as Bengi looking to get some deep wards in. Got to be careful about that one.
Yeah, a little intricate game, though. Bengi moving in, knowing he'd be trapped between the mid and jungle, but then Nagne recognizing that he would have been trapped between Faker and Bengi had he kept going, so it's certainly a dangerous game. Score on the run here, Bengi and Wolf being very annoying, taking one of those wolves, which seems appropriate, I suppose.
Yeah, getting pushed back out right now, but the pressure already coming in on the top side, using that Sivir wave there to quickly push up to that tower and then freeing up Kennen for the roam into the enemy side of the map. Arrow and Peekaboo not really having an answer for that at this stage. So just trying to snap up even the smallest advantage, but that's how you play against KT. You want to slow them down in the jungle and keep Peekaboo nailed down. That is going to be the most effective strategy for SK Telecom in this best of 5.
Mentioned during Champion Select, KT's big ace in the hole is Someday specifically counter-picking for him. They blind-picked the Fizz. We were expecting Fizz top, and we got it. The result is this matchup against Malphite. Now, Fizz, he has a wonderful time against Maokai, which, of course, is a big Marin champion. The fortunes are certainly mixed against Shen. From what we've seen, Shen consistently can win that lane, even in terms of a 1v1 trade battle after a certain item cap. Now we see the Malphite matchup, which is a new one, but just given the identity, just given the tankiness, the fact that he can itemize for armor despite it being a Fizz and just a bit of health, it seems like it's going to be a pretty comfortable matchup for Marin, and Someday, he's got so much to deal with between the fact that it could be Victor or Malphite.
Here we go.
Faker with trouble score coming in for the gank. He's going to hit with the Prey Seeker. There's a flash knock up. Faker flash in the brush. Nice cocoon from Bengi. Going to help his mid laner escape. Close call there. Repel. Bengi moving over to the Scuttle Crab. And they're going to get Faker out. Burning his flash. Score had to use his as well, so Summoner's even between teams anyway.
Yeah, but getting that flash out on Diana is incredibly useful. Diana, for all her strength and all her all-in ability, when she works well, she works very, very well. But the fact that she really can't escape from engagement, she's very binary. She only goes in.
Yep.
I suppose that's not even binary, that's just
solo.
But the fact that she's so strong in the lane, so strong with her shield, just basically tank a lot of damage, freeing herself up in this matchup to even take teleport, you don't really punish her that much. Okay, she doesn't have the flash, but she doesn't even miss any minion wave. So the movement towards this teleport, Diana, has really helped her reliability in what can be a tough laning phase pre-6.
Does help, and you've got to imagine that SKT is probably not going to need that teleport too much for the next few minutes anyway. Not bad to have to use it there.
Marin just crushing it in terms of CS here in this lane. Someday opted into this matchup, but he sure is having a hard time farming. And Marin is level 6, Someday is not.
Yeah, it looked like KT was maybe trying to set something up with Score down in the brush there, but as soon as they saw Bengi, they knew that wasn't going to work.
They're also just trying to make sure he doesn't get dove here.
Yeah, of course.
So that's a bit of a concern. We'll see how good Someday's dodging skills are. He is level 6 right now. Faker heading up into the top jungle.
The concerns are map-wide, Monte Cristo. You can see the pressure in top lane's been mostly just been pushed out at will by Sivir, as you'd expect in the Ashe matchup. Diana's had the pressure, even without flash. You can see Faker is well over the midpoint of that lane. And we saw Malphite under turret as well. KT just haven't been able to get aggressive wards in either game. Maybe by their own choice in game 1, focusing on combat stats. But in this game especially, they're being super, super punished in the laning phase by SKT.
You know, SKT is really showing some interesting stuff. Wow, it's a lot of damage on the Peekaboo. He's going to throw the hook in. Wolf dodges. But SKT, they've had so many people leaving lane for just a moment, just to keep KT guessing. Bengi uses the opportunity to throw down a ward in the enemy jungle, and with Arrow and Peekaboo poked out like that, SKT can really kind of do whatever they want with this top jungle of KT rolls.
Just need to be pushing out one lane, need to be applying pressure somewhere. That's what, of course, the draft mode opens up, is counter picks, his points of pressure. If a team is allowed to have pressure in all lanes and a strong skirmishing jungler, and at least the strongest definitely on this patch, you worry for KT. They're really just tunneling in on just a very, very late game situation, which with the double teleports is certainly not a reliable thing to opt into if you're KT. Well,
you have to admire SK Telecom's draft, though, because it looks like Marin is very comfortable in this matchup. Remember that they banned out SK Telecom, the Fizz, in the first game. When they saw it picked first, they already had a plan. We're going to just last pick the Malphite into this. Malphite's been able just to ground slam in that lane and keep the Fizz at bay, keep a large CS advantage. And
there's a ward there. Faker gets grabbed, no flash. He's in trouble now, trying to make something out of it. Here comes Wolf. Does he have level 6? No, not yet. Teleport coming in for SKT, but Faker getting low. A huge ultimate from Marin. Faker still goes down, though. First blood goes to Score, but it's not over yet. Wolf in a bit of trouble now. Someday all over him. Bang, trying to body block for his support. Here comes Bengi. A huge melee in the jungle. Can KT keep their players alive? It's going to be tough. Arrow coming from the side. Now he's got a lot of health. And wow, this is low. Bang takes out Victor. Peekaboo. Bang, can he get him as well? Or Bengi trying to take him out. Wolf gets a bloodthirsty kill. And meanwhile, Peekaboo goes down as well. And SKT turns that Faker first blood into more. They're going to dive score as well. It's an ace! It's an ace for SKT! And Wolf, oh no, he got killed by the turret. Or turret, rather. I don't know what a turret is, but SKT with a huge lead after that one. Man, that was disastrous for KT Rolster.
Well, absolutely. A total disaster right there, and that's the price sometimes you get for tunneling onto Faker. And they had the 2 teleports coming in, but Marin hit the 4-man ult. And it starts out so well, right? Man. They get Faker low, but then, I mean, the gravity field is down, but look at this flank.
Welcome to the R zone.
It's a big mistake by Peekaboo early in the fight. Actually exhausted a level 5 cannon. Probably thought he was level 6, but didn't have that ultimate, so presented no threat. Someday tries to push his advantage, and this is the get out button. Of course, the fleet of foot passive from Sivir means you just can't kite her, and even though Someday lives for so long, on every other front, SKT is dominating.
Yeah, there's just not enough damage yet from Arrow early. He did pop that ultimate quite soon, and the skirmish going to SKT in a major, major way.
Wow, and that's just got to be soul-crushing for KT Rolster. You just gank Faker, you're like, all right, we got first blood on the score, we're doing great, and then 4-man ult from Marin, already making that Malphite do work. Man, Marin, MVP of the first game, already the MVP of the second game, in my opinion, too.
I mean, he's 40 CS up right now. He's absolutely smashing this laning phase. What is Someday supposed to do? Faker may have died, but that's not even going to stop them. Peekaboo
going on to him. Arrow is there, but they don't care, man. They're going in anyway. Faker and Wolf coming down. Faker dives in, gets his first kill of the game. Bang really low, repels out of the turret shot. Wolf taking it now. He's got to run, man. Whoa, they committed hard to that one. Got a kill. Took a lot of damage in return, but it looks like it's okay for the moment anyway.
Over 3,500 gold lead at 10 minutes. Fizz needs to get ahead because he has to deal with Faker's split push, and he is woefully behind.
All they can do right now is try and put some pressure onto this topside turret with Marin
teleport
holding in the mid lane, and here's the TP. Hello.
Right. Faker comes in on the Arrow. Easy kill there. Whoops.
It's just a shooting gallery for SKT. Whoever they show up to, their items are in their head, their power spikes are in their advantage. Now they're going to take the dragon as well. There has been no aggressive wards in either of this game, and none of that is clear. When you look at this mini-map, there's hardly blue wards anywhere over the defense.
Well, SKT, I really think this draft was very strong against KT's playstyle. You look at the way that they're shoving the lane so aggressively in this game, and that's just bottling up score and Peekaboo, and those are the major playmakers. They have to be out on the map in order for KT to get ahead. They were punished by first picking that Fizz, maybe over-prioritizing it, and it's going to take really a miracle for KT to get out of this one.
Man, I think this is going to hurt KT's winning after getting first blood percentage, isn't it? Because they got it in game 1, they got it in game 2, and does not look good.
And the distressing thing is that they were in this position in game 1. They were the ones that had 3-lane counter picks. They had the strong lanes, and they couldn't make this sort of play around 12 minutes. It feels like SKT, this time they got the lane assignments they want, that are stronger on paper, that are clearly stronger in execution. But at 12 minutes, what a world of difference there is between where KT was able to snowball things and where SKT have made things happen in game 2.
There's a real possibility that Marin might be able to even pass the flame horizon this game, getting that 100 CS edge over Someday at some point. And Faker, talk about getting ganked. First blood taken against him. Now suddenly just jumps back with 2 kills, and he is as terrifying as ever.
Well, you have to wonder what this is going to do to KT's mentality, too.
Yeah,
here we go.
Faker. Oh, the arrow misses Faker just barely. Ash's ultimate not quite connecting.
I mean, game 1, KT takes an early advantage, fails to play out their composition or their win conditions properly. This time, they get absolutely crushed in the laning phase. And what does a KT win look like right now? They can't play when ahead. They're playing even worse when behind, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone's ever gotten a win when SKT's gotten an edge like this.
You hate to talk about, you know, penciling in a victory for a team at 13 minutes, but I agree with Monty. You think about the late game. There's no answer to Faker. There's no, I mean, even Marin is going to be able to split push against Someday. Someday is so far behind that if he doesn't pick up you know, triple kill or quadra kill in the next 5 minutes and really get snowballed in items. The split push doesn't work. The team fights are certainly going to be an SKT's advantage. They have multiple ways to initiate. They can even flank with their support. Everything is in SKT's playbook. They can just choose which page to read this time.
Yeah, you know, we've seen some pretty amazing comebacks this season overall, but if KT comes back in Game 2 here, this is going to be one of the biggest comebacks we've seen ever in Champions.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much else to say at this point. It's this game is really all but over at this stage. Someday they needed him to at least provide some sort of pressure on the map, and he's so far behind both Marin and Faker that that's just never going to happen. And when it comes to grouping and team fighting, KT will also find themselves behind because of the amount of engage and crowd control that this SK Telecom lineup has.
It's rough. Don't mess with Mecha Malphite. I can see the KOO Tigers players in front of me. There's definitely some smiles on the faces there, and not just because of the Malphite pick, but if SKT wins this match, KOO Tigers goes to Worlds. You know they're rooting for SK Telecom.
It's another year where KT may have to fight through a gauntlet to make it to Worlds. They were big-time favorites last time around and couldn't make it happen. And
yeah, you got to draw some parallels between now and 2013. Same situation. KT needing to win the championships to make it to Worlds. Otherwise, they're going to the gauntlet. Same situation now in 2015. They need to win the summer season. Otherwise, they're going to the gauntlet.
Big difference was KT won those first 2 games in 2013.
That's the big difference, yeah.
It's not looking that way this time.
No, definitely not, as Marin pounds away at this top tier 1 turret. Bengi right there as well.
I think one thing we can take away already from this series is that as much as Score has developed as a jungler, he is just completely being outpathed by Bengi over the course of this series. You can tell that Bengi is much more frequently in the right places to keep the pressure on, and Score has been pretty much resigned to farming deep within his own jungle right now. He doesn't look like he knows where he needs to be in order to just stem the bleeding, to stop the bleeding here from KT. Yeah. The only thing that's happening is he gets a couple of engage ganks off, but he keeps getting his team further and further behind.
6,000 gold lead at 10 minutes, or 15 minutes rather. Haven't seen that one in a while. Oh, and Faker just finds Arrow again. You know when plays are happening like that the team mentality is kind of broken at this point, isn't it?
Off screen, you can see Flash was used, Ultimate was used, no effect onto Faker.
This Ashe is pretty vulnerable, and you know, it's been a long tradition in Korea to avoid AD carries that don't have escapes. Korea didn't like Jinx right away. Ashe, same way until recently, and this is why. It's things like this that make Korea not pick these kinds of AD carries.
Well, I think we'll see what happens to Ashe. I think that's definitely true. The nice thing about Ashe that I think is attractive to the Korean teams, while we still haven't seen very much Jinx, is that Korean players like that kind of utility. It does open up a lot of team compositions that you couldn't use otherwise.
Oh, he's on Arrow again! Arrow pops the summoner heal, but I don't think he's getting out. No, Faker just dives the turret and takes him down. Meanwhile, Bengi repelling out of harm's way. Wolf is right there. Flashes, teleport coming in. SKT all over KT again. Goodbye, Peekaboo. Marin finds him with the ultimate. Goodbye, Nagne. A double kill now for Bengi on that Elise, and Score tries to flash to freedom, but it's not going to work. SKT's going to find him too. That's 4 kills for 0, and Bang just left on his own, taking up the turret.
This gold lead.
Man.
10,000 gold at 17 minutes in a final against a KT team that have been on the up. And sometimes you have to stand up and be counted. Both Monte Cristo and I predicting a KT win, but what did we not have? We didn't have much data points about what SKT looked like in the last month. Faker's only played 2 games with this team. One of them a bloodbath against Samsung. One of them a poor performance against Najin. Look at this interaction. Marin will have more trouble against a cannon minion than he will against the Ashe.
Marin, did you know there's an AD carry hitting you right now? Oh, man. Taking some turret hits, taking some AD carry auto attacks while his team takes Dragon. That has got to be the most demoralizing thing ever for Arrow right now. It's like, I auto-attacked that guy for like a full 20 seconds and nothing happened.
We just had no information about SKT in the last month with new patches, with this main roster. Remember, they've been running a lot of Easy Hoon.
I knew. I believe.
Your confidence has been paid off because SK Telecom, once again, look like the best team in the world just looking at these 2 games.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's just the way they snowball leads, too, that is absolutely beautiful because they operate together, which is very weird. We talked about their low kill contribution, but that doesn't, it says they don't team fight, but what they do is that they play so well on the map.
Someday caught again. Faker is just controlling this game. Faker, things Faker does, man. I mean, it's happening.
This is only his 3rd professional game on Diana.
Faker's basically playing against intermediate bots when it comes to dealing with base stats, with dealing with anything. Everyone is a viable kill. Doesn't matter about turrets.
Oh, you got too close to the mount.
Will he kill him with Sunfire?
Yeah. Cheese wheel for the victory. He's running in. Here we go.
Burn him!
Goodbye. You bet Mel fought to death. Wolf gets pulled in. Slicing Maelstrom gets popped by Nagne. There's a death for SK Telecom. Bang in a little bit of trouble now. The hubris is real, but here comes Bang, doing some damage to Nagne. A lot of damage to Nagne, actually, as he runs away now. Pop that ultimate. Meanwhile, a kill for Someday. Managed to find Bengi in the jungle. Meanwhile, Marin pushing towards that mid lane. Faker's coming in to cause some trouble.
Yeah, it does get slowed up by the box immediately upon porting in, so he wasn't able to make any kind of play off of that, but you see the pressure just keeps piling on. And a bit of a sloppy dive there from SK Telecom, disjointed. Wolf thinking he could get in there with the slicing Maelstrom after Faker was already retreating, but it really doesn't matter.
Well, SKT with such a massive lead now, yeah, like you said, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a bit odd to see, but I mean, you really don't need to play too carefully at this point, do you?
I mean, who's going to kill the Malphite? Nobody.
Yeah, certainly not Ashe.
Who's going to answer the Diana split push? Nobody.
Yep. Well, Faker's 1v1 pretty much everybody on KT at this point. He's 6-1-0, only dying in that first blood, and there's the KOO Tigers. They're like, go SKT, go! They really want SKT to win this one, because if they do, KOO Tigers go to Worlds just like that. It's kind of a similar situation back to 2013 again. SKT winning that championship, and that sent a Samsung Ozone, Samsung White in the audience to Worlds that year as well.
Hopefully the KOO Tigers have a better performance. Hello.
Oh, hello. Marin on top of Arrow again. Can he kill him?
Yep.
He is the ultimate. There's the Q stealing that movement speed. He's chasing Ashe down. Arrow uses a summoner heal. Peekaboo steals him out on the lantern, and then he goes forward to keep the Malphite away. They're going to pull him back in. Nagne's there with a lot of AP damage. Marin just goes, it's safer by the turret. Oh, I think Marin's going to die here. Whoa, behind that side. Oh, Nagne gets the kill there. Things are getting a bit silly, guys.
Things are definitely getting a bit silly.
Yeah.
We see that SKT is starting to play very cavalierly. They have to be careful because this should be 100% a one game for them, but I wouldn't be giving KT any more windows back in.
I certainly wouldn't be giving the Victor kills.
Yes, that is probably the worst thing they could be doing right now because a 6-item Victor is scary no matter what. Again, very far cry from that even being a remote possibility. We only see the Hex score upgraded on Victor. He's not anywhere close to hitting a 6-item spike or anything like that. But
his most impressive source of damage is a blasting wand at 21 minutes in the game.
It's a nice ability power from the Hex core, but you're right. No need this large rod, no need this large rod item. And we still have to come back to the fact that Someday needs to deal with one of Marin and Faker and is still woefully inequipped to do that.
All SKT needs to do is group up and just crush him in another team fight.
Malphite's pretty good at that.
That's about it. Yes, he is.
Yeah, and there's nothing that's stopping SKT. If you're SKT right now, sure, the split push is working great, but why not just dive their turrets with a Malphite, a Kennen, or the Sivir ult?
Yeah.
That is a very real possibility for you.
So Kennen has a Medjais.
Yep.
Why not? As you do.
As you do. With the all-in.
Oh, Faker finds Someday. Can he finish him off? Not a lot of vision there for SKT at the moment, and that will scare him away for now.
So I guess you could say maybe some of the gold's being spent inefficiently, but when it's 10,000, it's the least of the problems for SKT is the Medjais.
That's true. At least they've got Bengi on that champion. No, nobody? All right.
Nope.
Wow.
Baron time.
Two co-casters, double the shame. It is Baron time for SK Telecom. They know they can force a fight here.
Well, why not just keep split pushing? He's got the Sunfire just to continue.
Yeah, why not?
Pushing that down. And starting to move up, doesn't have to use the teleport if he doesn't need to. There's the Baron coming in. Oh,
yeah.
Nope, they're not going for it.
Want to play a game, guys? How many auto attacks has it taken Ashe without an Infinity Edge to kill a Frozen Heart, Sunfire Cape, Malphite?
Probably a lot. I'm not good at math, you know that. I'm just going to say a lot.
I'd say 40.
I think it's more than that.
Really? Marin and Faker coming in. They could find Peekaboo. Peekaboo pops the box right away. And Marin just throws the Q at him. They've got the, they don't have the Baron. They turned off of it, but they've certainly still got the pressure on the lanes right now. Grab onto Faker. Arrow hits Bengi. Faker hops away. There's a Cocoon on the score. Score could be in a bit of trouble as Marin comes in from the back lines. He's all over Arrow. Arrow trying to get back to his base. Can't do it. Sunfire Cape takes him off. Meanwhile, Someday over the wall gets a kill onto Kennen, but it's all SKT right now. 3 for 1 already as Nagne gets hit with another Cocoon. Marin pulled in by Peekaboo's death sentence. Here comes Bang though. Oh, Nagne takes out Bengi, got a bit too close to the death ray there, and Marin grabbed in. There's a bloodthirsty support right there. Kill the Maokai. Maybe it's going to take Arrow a couple thousand auto attacks, but Thresh can handle it.
He's got it. With the help of the base turret, I guess he could successfully take out the Malphite and gets his flash too. Marin tried to flash over that base wall.
Yeah.
Not going to help too much.
Well, again, the silliness continues. SKT certainly not playing the most methodical closeout we've ever seen. But I think this is all part of the plan. The best of 5. You can win a game like this and demoralize your opponent being 2 games down. That is perhaps more powerful than just closing it out quickly.
We get insight into the mindset of KT. They could have surrendered at 20, but it's probably smart to keep playing out. Maybe
you never know.
Maybe most of your team discussion is dominated by what should we change in game 3 rather than what is necessarily happening here. Because SKT, they've let lesser teams do this. And remember the Samsung series where they let Crown get massive on Yasuo when they could have finished the game. They'll still most likely finish it out, but they are giving more and more rope to KT. And maybe even more crucially, more and more time to dissect what KT need to do to get back in this series in later games.
Yeah, I don't think you surrender during a grand finals. Might as well play it out. You never know.
I mean, you kind of do know. Arrow still has no Infinity Edge here.
There it is.
25 minutes. Got it, finally. You can see he's already basically 2 core items behind Bang in this particular game. And what do you change of your KT next time? I think you just have to start playing with more wave clear. I think that's really what you have to do right now, because SK Telecom has been dominating you with higher wave clear compositions, and it hasn't opened up enough for KT to play to their strength. As they've just been totally shut down.
Cocoon on the score. Marin in position, gets grabbed by Peekaboo yet again. Peekaboo also delivers score to safety with that lantern. Peekaboo's really been making plays. Oh, Faker, here's a duel. Nagne there as well, but SKT bringing in a couple more members to help the kill happen. Faker picks that one up. Would like to see that duel, but Bang decided to interfere.
Well, Faker takes no damage from the Victor, as it seems.
Yeah,
he dropped the Chaos Storm right on him, and it barely did anything. Marin is just on split push duty with his spiky fists, hammering away at this turret.
14,000 goal lead. SK Telecom with Nagne out of the way feels a lot more comfortable going after this Baron. They can always turn and fight as well. And they may have to. There goes KT running away immediately. Box use teleport coming from Marin over the wall. A nice 2-man unstoppable force, and he is looking like just that as SKT taking apart KT right now. Someday on the run already. There's a kill for Bang. Wolf exhausted, but still going after score. Bangy and Someday dueling in the jungle. That's not supposed to happen. Arrow coming in though. There's the repel as Faker comes back in. Bang low, and Faker finds Arrow. Bangy will live. Faker just destroying everyone. 8-1-4 on that Diana already. And he's got the Zhonya's hourglass at this point. He's not worried about anything. Okay, now it's time for Baron.
What are you saying? I mean, SK Telecom just absolutely dominating this best of 5 so far. I mean, I hope that KT can make this a series. You know, there are parallels already to what we saw way back in...
KT teleporting in. They're going to go after Marin. Marin throws the Q back at Nagne. Marin in a lot of trouble. Faker goes in. He's trying to be a hero here. Bang only at half health. Nagne's still going to go down. And here comes Wolf with that slicing Maelstrom. Didn't quite catch Someday, but at least they're able to disengage. Now with Nagne down, does this leave a counter Baron open?
I don't think so.
They don't have the damage takedown Baron. They don't have really an AD carry. He has an Infinity Edge only at 27 minutes.
It's true.
It's just No real way to pressure that objective for your KT. Now you asked the question, is just basically walking in 2v5, 3v5, 1v5 to stop the Baron worth it? You could maybe say yes, just because you looked at SKT's lineup. 2 ranged auto attackers, one of them situational and elite, the other one 500 range. I guess Kennen as well, but the turret threat with Baron buff is immense. The dive is easy, the push is easy as yep, Ash dead again.
There we go. Marin and Bengi find Ash, who dies for the 8th time in this game.
0, 8, and 1.
This has got to be Arrow's worst game of Champion Summer.
Well, I mean, what is he supposed to do, though? It's Malphite Diana. I mean, as soon as they start to fall behind, and that Malphite got such an advantage over the Fizz in the laning phase.
He can't go anywhere. He can't do anything.
Well, and we have to talk about Bengi, too, because Bengi not thought of as a very mechanical jungler, but he does have his hot streaks. He has had his times where he's looked good as we go in.
Going back in, yeah, Faker on the Nagne, on to Peekaboo, the rest of SKT, going around the box to try to catch up. Looks like they're going to leave it there for now. SKT still with no Baron, but looks like they're going to try to go for it with the box out of the way.
But Bengi, back to Bengi, he has hit nearly every cocoon tonight. Yeah. He has been really spot on with that ability in a way that I haven't actually seen from Bengi in quite some time. He always used to be an Elise player, but this level of skill shot accuracy,
a desperation attempt to steal from score didn't go through, and SKT with Baron now looking to close this one out. And I mean, you're right about Bengi. People oftentimes talk about how he's not this mechanical jungler, but he's shown from time to time that he really can put together very solid mechanical performances, and this is definitely one of them.
And he's weird because it's not game to game. He's really streaky in that way. He can go on long for a couple months looking very mechanically good and then just fall right back down into just missing every skill shot. But tonight's been very good.
It's been fun watching the reinvention of players like Clearlove, like Bengi, who can play mechanical champions, just maybe are not known for them as the push with the Baron buff especially.
Yeah, so easy for SKT to just blow through that. They can score with another cocoon. Nearly goes down. There's the slicing, or there's the ultimate from Marin on the Peekaboo and Nagne. They take them out fast. And SKT, I think it's time to end the game, guys. A double kill for Bang. They're going in. Arrow taken out by Faker. He is right outside the fountain. Faker unafraid. Someday still trying to duel. That's a dangerous game to play. And Someday not able to fight Faker. Nexus turret's taken down, and SKT cruises to an easy victory here in Game 2. GG. It's 2-0 for SK Telecom.
of silly dives and split pushing coming through from SKT. This is really the game where Faker's champion pool is all 120+ champions, because they are on such a high and they're just looking to demoralize, pummel further into the ground KT Ralston.
I mean, we've seen Faker pick up the Master Yi in the past. You just never know what this guy's going to play. And I think you're right, Monty, where if we're going to see a Fiora and a Gangplank, this is going to be the game SKT pulls it out. There's that Lulu ban, of course. SKT sticking with what's worked all night. And there's the Azir ban as well, not wanting Faker to first pick that one.
Yeah, they did first pick it on the blue side in game 1, and Faker had a solid performance on it. Faker has had good performances on Azir, but not to the same degree as EasyHoon in terms of impressive Azir play, but he made it work. And just take the Elise first.
I was wondering, do you take the Elise or the Maokai rather? What's SKT going to go? They go with the Elise.
It's been working so well for Bengi. There's no champion can really pick up that can match Elise in her early game performance. You can go for Elise in to try and skirmish, but Elise is so reliable. She wins skirmishes against a lot of the meta junglers. It's a very comfortable pick, and it's the start of a pick comp, which, and the regular CC's been great. As KT, the Gragas might actually be the window for that disengage we talked about.
I think this is a good pickup for KT right now. Comparing the two junglers this season, both Bengi and Score have played Rek'Sai more than any other. But Bengi has fallen back on Evelynn typically, whereas Score, his second most played jungler, is Gragas. It's a pick they know how to work. It's a pick they're going to be comfortable with. And I think take the peel here. Make sure that they can't get on your back line, because that's been SKT's entire goal. But now the Ashe has opened up and there's no Braum. Question now, do you take Yasuo?
I wonder.
Yasuo has very reliable backline threat onto an Ashe, of course. Just throwing out the explosive cast will be enough to open it up if KT do decide to pick it up. We haven't seen a lot of it from Nangnai, but you mentioned he's played it in the past. He has been known as a Yasuo player. SKT, though, they can take power picks, and these picks certainly worked well for them in game 1.
Yeah, well, looks like Martin's going to be going for his 24th game in a row as a winner on Maokai. Made it 23 after game number 1, and they grabbed the Ashe for Bang as well.
I don't know how we found another streak to talk about. SKT streak
There's
was
always
broken earlier in the season. Alistair streaks were broken. Victor for Kuro was broken. But there's still one there, and it's 23-0
also,
for Maokai.
Bang's Kalista professional 100% win rate is still alive too. That's the one that they got left now.
Dream.
Well, it's not going to be broken this game. Twitch and Victor. Do you think that Twitch is actually going to get locked in here?
Maybe a shout out to Imp, who's of course in the audience, still playing a lot of the Twitch, even on the current patches.
I think KT's just really distracted by Imp's shirt. I think that's what happened.
Understandable.
I know I am. I'm still feeling it.
Well, they are going to switch.
Oh, there's the
Gangplank.
That's right. Get your cannons ready.
This is the last person we expect to be playing the Gangplank. We thought Someday, we thought Faker. They've both been showing it. Nangnai, though,
Might
he's
still
the one
be Someday
to first do something different, and this is the time to do it. They need to make something happen, and we see something we have not seen in Champions for a long time. In fact, only seen in OGN in a pentakill form, of course.
Only as
the
a
fun
joke,
match with good old Impact.
Yeah, that was in an all-star show match, basically. So. Not really a serious game. It was Impact playing into Flames Fiora, which is funny that both of these champions are strong now.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
All right, I'm glad we get to see the Gangplank. I mean, we said if it's going to be picked anytime, it's going to be picked now. Do you think it's going to Someday or Nangnai? Where do you think it's going?
I think it's hard to tell. We know that a lot of the Korean mid laners have been playing it. Most notably, Faker has been testing it out in the mid lane. So,
oh yeah, Faker's Riven, make it happen, it is!
Oh boy.
Kennen support, and Faker's gonna be bringing his Riven to the mid lane once again.
The crowd is ecstatic for this pick, and honestly that means you gotta navigate the Gangplank well away from the Riven, so I think Someday is gonna have to rock it up top.
And what is the answer to the Riven here is going to be the question. Do they try and get a tricky lane matchup where Gangplank will be in a lot of threats? Or are they going to go ahead and flex that pick? A lot of things to think about right now.
There's a lot to think about. And you think about the games Faker's had on this Riven, it's been pretty amazing stuff, all the way going back to, like, what, World Season 3?
Yeah, the first time he
played
played
very notable appearance, yeah.
Mid lane Riven's definitely been a thing for the past since many Riven nerfs. A long time ago, Riven's been such a tear this season. 2 pentakills, of course, one of them by Someday, who's in the game right now.
Yeah.
You have to navigate Gangplank away from that lane, so it looks like it's going to be the comfort Victor pick. It's actually got a negative win rate for KT and for Nagne, but last second change to actually a more favorable choice for Nagne. 6-1 this season on the Cassia.
And a lot of bans being dropped on Cassiopeia by KOO in the last match. Now, Faker is professionally undefeated on Riven. He is 5-0 all time.
Wow.
So this has been a power pick for him. We don't see it very often, but his Riven mechanics, it doesn't seem to matter how long ago he played it. They are always on point.
Innovated that pick as a counter to Gragas mid, and I believe around Season 3 Worlds, and it stuck with him, and it stuck with him. It's a reputation. It really precedes itself.
We just saw what's at stake there. That Champions Cup up for grabs. Your SK Telecom could take it. Marin on his undefeated Maokai, or well, seldom defeated, once defeated, versus Someday's Gangplank. I'm glad I got to say those words tonight.
It's not quite the lane matchup, or lane counter matchup that Fiora is, but Gangplank should definitely be able to farm. Be interested to see if the lane swap does come in, as it's high pressure from both junglers in Elise versus Gragas.
It's right down the mid lane. Faker on that Riven versus Cassiopeia, played by Nagne. Nagne, of course, has played Cassiopeia quite adequately in the past. See if he can keep it up. Down at AD carry, bang on Ashe once again, and Arrow back onto Corki.
Wondered if it was going to be pure disengage when we saw the likes of the Thresh and Gragas, but Corki not really a hyper carry in the back lane. As Wolf, it kind of looked good the previous game. Why not stick with it?
Yeah, I know I say this is it, but this is really it, guys. SK Telecom has a chance to win it all right here. KT needs victory if they want to start that comeback. Let's get into Game 3 and see who takes it. And welcome, perhaps for the last time in Champion Summer, to Summoner's Rift. SKT versus KT, the Telecom War. This battle, at least, could end right here with an SK Telecom 3-0. No one expected that coming into today's match. We'll see if Faker's Riven, the rest of the squad, can make it a reality. It looks like they're riding in Voltron or something right now, but that just makes it even more awesome. Perhaps Megazord.
Which is better? I don't even know which is better.
Voltron, obviously. Do you even need to ask?
I cede my opinion to Doa. He is the expert on this matter.
That's right. There's KT Rolster and their own giant robot.
So
They're going to need a giant win to stay alive in this one.
You know, KT, the Corki pick here is really just about getting them over the hump into that late game. Cassiopeia and Gangplank going to scale very well. Now, they're going to have to be careful because they have very strong pick potential with the Gragas and the Thresh, but they're a little squishy when it comes to a 5v5. That said, if they can take Faker out, SKT really not going to have any damage. So if they can successfully focus him, but that hasn't happened this series. KT has put a premium on attempting to kill Faker, and they haven't made it work.
Yeah. Starting off with the barrels. Some powder keg action to help kill the Krugs. A keg for the Krugs.
I guess Gragas is happy with that.
True.
2 kegs.
Well, I don't think he'd want to drink from that one, though. He'd be very disappointed if he tried drinking from that one.
Oh, dear.
Like, oh, it tastes sandy.
Really interesting lane matchup. It's been a long time since we've had to really evaluate Riven mid matchups. The Doran's shield is one of the big changes in the last 2 years. It's going to block 8 damage from each of those twin fangs, so he's going to have the single target reduction. As Pickle's taking a lot of damage.
Wolf taking a lot of damage in return, too. Being very aggressive with this Kennen, as you often do in lane, but it's dangerous to do against Peekaboo. This guy's a playmaker on the Thresh, and you do have to give it some respect, even if you are up 2 games in a best of 5.
Let's note that it's once again 2v2 action. Once again, Peekaboo hasn't been unleashed on the map. Looks like they're 1 creep away.
Got that level 2 a little bit quicker. They go for the death sentence. Doesn't quite hit.
I worry for Nagne a bit in this matchup. Now, he had his choice of picks against the Riven. There is a lot of potential for Nagne to do well in this lane eventually, but the all-in potential is pretty massive when he couldn't honestly take the summoner spell Exhaust. He couldn't take a defensive summon, needed cleanse for team fights. And now there's really a lot of burst worries onto Faker, who has a lot of mobility to dodge away from their poisons. If the Q doesn't register, damage trades comfortably in Faker's advantage.
I think what I like about the Cassiopeia here is if you can avoid that all-in, if Bengi doesn't get to that mid lane.
And will they dive this? Bengi coming in with the double buffs. Marin there as well. Twist advance onto Someday. Someday in a little bit of trouble, not even going to bother. Oh, he did use the flash. Tried to parlay Marin to get enough damage from the turret, but it didn't work out. Oh, he did kill Bengi. Somehow, Elise was killed by a turret from space, or in space.
That was...
And she was never seen or heard from again.
That was actually quite interesting. So that ended up being a pretty nice trade, considering that Someday got the kill.
Was it maybe the Gangplank passive that did the job there? I don't know. Oh, bang. Takes some damage. Oh, the passive doesn't burn. Never mind. Yeah, I don't know. Must have been a turret hit.
Gragas tried to come in, couldn't get to the lantern. It was taken away by the time Peekaboo had flashed away, so not able to pick up the kill down bottom. Quite a lot used for it. Heal and Peekaboo's flash used to try and make a play bot lane.
Well, KT knows they need to make those plays, and we're going to need to see a level of aggression from them that we haven't seen at all tonight yet. Faker's got that mid lane pushed up quite a bit. Still down by a few CS, though.
I want to talk about what made that gank work and the knowledge that it took, because what happened actually is there was a hawk shot that came in from Bang to the blue buff that saw a score in the bottom side. So once they had that piece of information, they knew that that push that they had set up, because both junglers were on the blues, was going to definitely not be answered by the Gragas. So some forethought there, very low risk gank in spite of what happened. And Someday's the guy you want to take out. He is the star of this team. He is the one that really does carry this KT Rolster squad. Now, I was trying to talk about the Cassiopeia Riven matchup too, and the nice thing is that we've seen Cassiopeia played into SK Telecom before, and Faker just plays Victor and shoves down the tower. Peekaboo trying to get in there. That is risky.
Yeah, he could be in a lot of trouble here. Willie gets stunned by Wolfo flashing in. They do get it. Peekaboo's going to get taken down. The dangers of warding. Oh, and it is so dangerous to give Faker a kill on that Riven. Now they're going after Nagne, but Score's there for the disengage.
Cassio has exhaust, so that's where the summoner spell will work, but Peekaboo, 26.8% of his team's deaths. This guy dies a lot trying to make plays happen, and usually it's in lieu of getting an excellent ward or winning a team fight with a big initiation, but sometimes he just wanders and dies in the early game.
And that kill could not have gone to a worse person for KT. Super dangerous. Looks like the dive's coming in again, but Score's around. They're going to have to disengage on that one. Bengi taking some turret hits. Score jumps right in. Bengi escapes for now. Will he actually make it out? Score getting low. Marin, a huge ultimate. Peekaboo comes in with the lantern, though the death sentence does not connect. No deaths. Oh, unless it's Faker killing Nagne, but no, he has to turn around. Those Twin Fangs doing a bit too much work.
He blew Nagne's cleanse, though, in that exchange. He used his Ignite early, so there wasn't necessarily a finisher right there. Man, Bengi playing with fire a little bit right there, nearly going down.
Well, it was a nice play from Score to stun him up under the turret. Was nearly a kill. I'm surprised Bengi got that repel off in time, and after his first death this game, you'd think Bengi would be a little bit nervous about repelling under turrets. Wolf coming in, double 6, they get the flash from Nagne. Faker comes in, he's got the ult, he's got the kill. Beautiful, beautiful game from SKT.
Dodged that petrifying gaze so beautifully, I almost couldn't see it. Just getting his back turned looked like.
It was outstanding. That's why I worried about this matchup, is that there's so much mobility. Flash, Q, E, all repositioned. You dodge that ultimate, you dodge the Q, and you will win those burst trades as Riven.
Just that precise timing, though, knowing exactly when Nagne would throw it out, knowing that when he saw Wolf come in, he'd go for it. Faker was so ready.
It was both knowledge and reaction. Remember, there is, what, a 0.25, 0.4 second cast animation on the ultimate.
Nearly instant.
Flashed it expert.
Let's watch this one again. Let's see how Faker does.
Wait for the animation. Comes now, flashes it.
Wow. Beautiful.
This is Riven mechanics.
Thinks Faker does.
Not lose Riven mechanics in what, 2 years since it was a relevant pick?
Do you ever
for
really
this
lose
player?
it?
I mean, the answer is no, clearly.
Guess not. Well, SKT already off to a pretty good start here. Throwing some kills onto that Riven. He's got his Brutalizer. Bang and Wolf doing just fine in the bot lane. And Wolf, the one roaming and making plays. Peekaboo's been held up nearly in the entire game.
For any fans who weren't watching League of Legends 2 years ago or weren't familiar with how Faker revolutionized Riven play, it wasn't taking it to the mid lane. It was just understanding the animation canceling that most players didn't even know was possible with Riven. The amount of damage that he was able to get out through auto attacks specifically, queuing them up during animations, is what separated him from other Riven players, and now very much the norm, and it's why this pick is so seminal to Faker. He just revolutionized mid lane Riven and Riven in general as a champion.
Someday you can see, as we just saw rather, having a very hard time against Mar in the top lane, down by about 40 CS. Can't go toe-to-toe with the tree now. He's got a pistol and a sword, but what he really needs is like a chainsaw.
Well, Bengi has done a very good job of affecting this lane matchup, even in that trade where they nearly killed Bengi. Someday's been getting too low to actually stay in the lane or get close to farm. And not only that, but Marin's been doing a good job of taking out all the kegs.
Whoa, Someday in a lot of trouble. Marin taking some turret hits. Is he going to go for it? He's got the flash. He can flash twist advance. Someday's got his flash as well, so Marin knows that he'd have a hard time closing. Good
to see Marin show some respect there. Knew the counter flash was imminent, but the pathing from SKT, specifically sending Bengi up. Remember, Gangplank builds full damage. He wants to build Trinity Force Infinity Edge. Low base health is a bit like Ryze. He doesn't have the defensive snare even, or the ultimate to dissuade turret dives. So much later in the game, they just expertly denied him in the laning phase.
Wolf going for the stun. The arrow from Bang nearly catching him. Bengi there with an AD carry on his own now. He's going to go for the damage. Arrow gets a bit of a shield from Peekaboo. Bengi has to run away. Very disjointed engage. Oh, Bengi lives. Will Bang through the cannon barrage? No, looks like the bot lane for SKT is going to go down. Bang can't get out of this one. And now Bengi caught as well. KT comes back with 3 kills. Bang finally taken down by Arrow. And I mean, they tried a couple different ways to engage. They should not have gone for that.
You can't go for that.
No.
Because of the cannon barrage on the map. And that was a really good drop of that ultimate to cut off the escape route right there. Peekaboo was already coming back into that bottom side. And we talked, how did SKT lose to CJ? Lack of respect for global abilities, over-committing to plays, and this is another one.
We just see the turret dive. It's understandable as a turret dive with Bengi so in position, but it's just disrespecting Thresh's positioning in so many cooldowns.
Well, not to mention that when the arrow got in front of the minion wave, so there was no chance for a cocoon. After you miss your engage like that, just back off. You don't need to overplay this, and that's exactly what happened.
The greed was understandable in the previous game when they were 10,000 gold ahead and it was basically academic, but in this game, where things are much closer, the flow-on effect is actually more impressive, is that if in the bottom lane, Arrow and Peekaboo can pick up some pressure, take some pressure away from the Gangplank who really wants to safely farm in top, take away some pressure from Nagne, who's having a horrid time against the Riven, maybe things will get better for KT because they needed pressure in one lane and they should have it now in bot.
Well, Faker right now has got to be like, what are these noobs doing? He's so well in the mid lane, and he still is, but SKT really can't let that happen again.
Talked about Flame Horizon in game 1. 43 CS and growing in the top lane.
Could still happen. Riven coming up to the top lane now. Well, Faker just showing himself for a moment, going back down again. Really good wards from SKT. And the first turret of the game will end up going to SK Telecom.
And remember, the worry is that someday he can't afford to build a Spectre's Cal. He needs to build that damage. And he's just going to continue losing the damage trades. Even if the Trinity Force is picked up, it's going to be pretty line ball who's going to win the trades, unless Gangplank can really kite around and get free damage harass with the parlay.
It certainly seems that way. Faker leaving lane every time he gets a chance just to kind of keep KT guessing, and it's moves like that that help SK Telecom get that vision edge.
This is a mini-map purely SKT's wheelhouse at 12 minutes. How do they create pressure? Marin's basically free auto-attacking the inner turret after already comfortably taking the outer turret in the spot game.
Wow, Someday back over the wall, or Marin rather back over the wall to Someday. Here comes Riven. They're going to try to dive this. Nobody else from KT around. Someday gets away. Is Faker actually going to give this a shot? I think he is. No, I think he's not.
He has flash up, so that would be a tad on the difficult side, especially since Nagne's starting to move up now. I mean, KT's last hope is that they hold out somehow, get the farm in that they need, because they do have insane late game damage between the Cassiopeia and the Gangplank. And Faker sort of has to go all in. And this time around, the Maokai, if the farm continues, Nagne hasn't fallen behind when it comes to CS in that mid lane. He has been stacking that tier. So can he make it work? Because now there is actually something to kill the Maokai in this game, unlike in game 1.
Yeah, Someday removing his scurvy. Apparently he gets scurvy a lot. He has to remove it all the time.
Well, you can keep getting scurvy if you don't eat citrus.
Yeah, but he gets it really fast. He needs like a constant citrus intake every couple seconds. Uses up that vitamin C when he plays in Summoner's Rift, apparently.
It's not even a pirate this time. It's a special ops. Oh, boy.
Oh, Marin on the Someday now. Cannon Barrage does go down. Marin could be a little bit in trouble. The casks are being put down as well. Score, he's going to help dive. Goodbye, Marin. Nice move by KT. Meanwhile, Faker goes after Nagne. Can he finish well? Flash, trying for it. Gets him with the ult. Gets out.
Nagne didn't even ult right there.
No.
I don't think Nagne thought he could die to that. But Faker just has such good calculation on Riven. We've seen this time and time again. He knows the limits of that champion when he can all in so well. And he managed to pick up that kill because otherwise I think Nagne would have just tried to ult.
I think it was just a mind game, Monte Cristo. The first time he tried it, the ult was flashed. He knew that the counter flash was there. Tried to make a tricky play and Faker read him like a book.
Well, Faker's Riven, what can you say? SKT with a small gold lead still. Oh, Someday caught up with that cocoon. He removes it and scurvy immediately, though.
If only Gangplank didn't have scurvy, he would be immune to all CC.
Well, he's actually very lucky he has scurvy because the removal of it removes all the other CC. If he didn't get scurvy,
that's like a malaria comorbid sickle cell anemia situation where it's like if he gets both, it just removes them both. Easy peasy.
I guess so. Lucky Gangplank and all his scurvy.
High school biology references from me. Oh dear.
It's been a long time, Papa Smithy.
Surprised you can remember that.
Pretty impressive. Maybe you should help Gangplank. Oh, Nagne in a little bit of trouble again. Cocoon, the CC is endless. But the deaths come very quick for Nagne.
And
that's
it comes
his
from
third of the game.
Every angle, Doa.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, they have the pressure on the map right now with the lane pushed in top. Someday was just trying to...
Oh, Someday has to use that flash. And there goes the mid lane tier 1 for SKT. That's 2 turrets to 0. Looks like they're going to trade as SK Telecom takes the bottom turret. Faker gets parlayed. It's really not much of a parlay, is it? I mean, a parlay is like a negotiation to usually negotiate some sort of like peaceful thing, right? But Gangplank just shoots you. He's not very good at this parlay thing.
Well, he is. That's the pirate way to parlay things, Doa.
Is it really?
Yeah, at the end of a gun. That way you always win.
Oh, it's fair. I thought it was all like more of a guideline than actual rules and all that stuff. I think so.
The bot lane's really the only cause for optimism. Obviously not a big CS advantage, but the immediate power spike is there with the Trinity Force. They just couldn't use it in game 1, and in this game where they just don't have the pressure in other lanes, using that Trinity Force power spike and just stopping Corki from just being grouped in a lane against Ashe and trading farm is all KT wants to do, but so hard to achieve.
Well, Someday is closing that CS gap, and he managed to pick up a number of assists with his cannon barrage onto the bottom lane, so the gold is not quite too worrisome there. In fact, the global gold relatively even in spite of all that's happened in Dragon. Over to KT, they still have a chance to ride this out, but you have to be really concerned about a 3-0-1 Riven and what's going to happen if Faker starts split pushing.
Yeah, and not to mention what Faker could do in a team fight if SKT decides to try to stop KT from taking their second dragon. Some action down the river now as Score retreats to his own jungle. Looks like they might give up a pink ward. Bengi somehow dodges that hook. And SKT, they're going to start the dragon right now.
I think KT would be smart just to swade, just pick up CS on gameplay, but no, they're teleporting, they're committing.
Wow, that's dying so fast. Teleport coming down for Someday. They can't save the dragon. Maybe they can win the team fight. Slicing Maelstrom blocks the Peekaboo. Teleport coming in for Marin as well. Faker already picks up a kill. Bengi repelling out of danger. Marin all over Score. Here comes Nagne and Someday though. Cannon Barrage keeping SKT in the dragon pit, but now they get out. I think it's time to disengage this fight. Yep, and they will end it. 1 kill happier and 1 dragon healthier. SK Telecom still looking really good.
KT really wasn't in a position to TP into that fight. They actually got all backed up into a choke point right there. Peekaboo in the front, but they just can't walk through that slicing Maelstrom.
And Someday, you know, teleporting as defensively as possible around the cove. Obviously his Gangplank only his ult really to impact a fight, but why not just push top lane, pick up CS on this hard scaling Gangplank instead of going for a dragon fight that was a hope and a prayer to even come close to stealing it away from SKT.
Yeah, you need those damage items on Gangplank. He has the Trinity Force now, but meanwhile, Nagne's still trying to scale with his tier right now. They were lucky to get that first dragon. There's no reason to go for that fight right now. Like you're saying, Papa Smithy, when you could split push instead, maybe get some damage down onto the turret and try and come back in the late game with your scaling advantage.
Well, I mean, I think what we're seeing more of is KT just looks really rattled. You know, after the first 2 games, who could blame him? But this is the finals. You got to keep it together.
KT had a consistent win condition during their rise in the second half of the round robin about invading aggressively with Peekaboo and Score, and they've been never allowed to do that. They've never gotten the lane swap off. They've always had Peekaboo anchored to a lane. He's been punished the one time he roamed in this game, and SKT playing their own game just fine.
I think you really have to admire SKT for that, though, because I feel like their aggressive play in the lane has been their key to these very one-sided victories that we've seen from them so far tonight. They read how KT won the map. They took the wave clear and they locked KT down. And KT doesn't look like they know what to do in that situation.
Seems that way. Arrow chasing Faker. Got to be a little bit careful, but Faker doesn't exactly know where the other members of KT are at the moment.
Has vision on Score, anyway. So knows not to go for any cheeky 1v1s.
Yep. A bit too dangerous, which is, I'm sure, what Arrow was trying to bait him into.
Trying to frantically control this vision.
Yeah.
Too, but just the number of deep wards in right now with that mid lane down.
Oh, they're going into Faker. Scores right there. Can they catch him? Faker trying to escape. He's got his flash. Gets stunned anyway. Faker's going to go down here. A flash play from Peekaboo, and that's going to help Arrow pick up a kill. Now, what does SKT do in response here?
The minion waves aren't pushed up for SKT, so they won't be able to punish any of the other lanes. So smart gank from KT.
Yeah, just catching Faker and giving him his first death of the game.
And that's how they should be working, right? They have such strong pick potential. They have the Gragas, they have the Thresh early on. If you can make the plays like this, they're trying to get some damage down onto the turret, but that will be responded to by Wolf and Bengi.
Trying to save that bot turret. Looks like they will for now. Baron is live. Doesn't it feel like it's much later in the game than it is right now? Yeah, I don't know why. It just feels that way.
It's been a surreal night in a lot of ways, though. We did not expect to be just a couple of hours into the broadcast and already at match point for SKT of all teams.
I'm very startled by how good SKT is playing tonight. And we saw how great KT was towards the end of the season, but they just look completely outclassed at this point.
Ever since I got here in the summer season to cast champions, it's been about building up challenges to SKT and SKT mowing them down. And we thought this was one time where the meta was against them. Their recent results hadn't been much. We hadn't seen their full roster in a while playing in a serious game. As
Peekaboo in a lot of trouble, gets hit with the Ash Arrow, tries to play Wolf away. He does for the moment, but Faker picks him up. That's a big ult though from Nagne. They're going to turn it around. Faker goes down. No, he doesn't quite yet, but that's 2 kills for KT either way. Bengi, Martin, and Faker all on the run. The bot lane is dead. Nice response. Great out from Nagne to turn that one around for KT, and they may just be able to take a mid lane turret for it.
Double Trinity Force. They got massive turret damage. Structures are going down.
Yeah.
Gonna try and shoot out right there. And
going in on the Score. Score taking some hits. Oh, Faker got pushed up by the explosive cast. They're trying to chase. Looks like they'll turn that one around. He gets him anyway. Another kill for Arrow. They take down Bengi. They'll take the turret. KT not quite dead yet.
And they're going to take a gold lead now too, so this is a positive sign for KT moving into the mid and late game. Now the biggest factor right there was actually that Bengi missed that cocoon. It was barely out of range, because what that allowed you to Peekaboo to do was hit Bang with the hook. Now watch this, not in range. Peekaboo then is able to flay and hook Bang, and then the combo comes in. If that cocoon lands, this fight goes 100% in favor of SKT. That was a very little error, but Peekaboo was just on the very outside of that brush, and SKT got pulled in a little too far forward.
Yeah. Then they weren't done yet. Getting another kill by that turret. Dragging up in 35 seconds about right now, and both of these teams would like to get their second.
The reliability of damage from SKT, especially in the late game, is questionable. There's a lot of ways counterplay around the Riven. We have seen Riven pentakills, but there's ways to play against it. So, you know, if Cassiopeia can start really disengaging and using that ult for disengage for the likes of Gangplank and Corki, it's honestly Gangplank who's the hyper carry on KT Rolster's team.
Well, we have seen 2 Riven pentakills this season, but they have been teleport Rivens. And that's actually a very important distinction, because that gives Riven in the late game a free ticket potentially into that back line. That free ticket isn't coming here.
And the reason why that's significant is that Riven has dashes, but honestly her Q is her biggest source of damage, so you don't want to be using that for reposition. How do you ever get in a point where you're able to use all your abilities for damage?
SKT started the dragon there. Faker just kind of going for it by himself, had to disengage. Teleport coming down, arrow hits score. Is that going to be enough? They've got the lantern in for him as well. Not going to need it as Peekaboo walks up to join the rest of his team. Teleport coming in now for Mara. The hook does not land. And meanwhile, Dragon gets taken by Faker. SKT gets their second, and they're just going to disengage. Can Bengi get out, having to flash over the wall there? Nagne not using his ult. SKT wisely backing off. Knew they couldn't win that fight.
Well, one more Dragon over to SKT. I think it was smart of KT not to fully commit to that. Notice that they only used the box in that little engagement right there. So they still have ways to play around with the cannon barrage. A bit of a sloppy engage from SKT. They couldn't follow up really onto the arrow cocoon combo onto score.
Nagne taking some damage here. Faker hopping back over the wall. They've got to be a bit careful. Aren't fine someday, but Gameplay's just going to cure that scurvy once again and run away with some powder tank slows to keep Marin away.
And the talk of Flame Horizon certainly gone. Only 18 CS behind, looking at the gold. Actually well in front, of course. Remember, the passive from Parlay, adding 8 gold for every one of those last hits, including the ones from Powder Kick. So really powering up and farming up a Storm. He's actually pretty close to Infinity Edge, to be honest. And the damage, look, if he's able to just walk from the Fog of War like he was on the pick onto Bang in the previous red contest, someday unchecked does massive damage at this point in the game.
Yeah, certainly will be taking a split push edge too. Marin opted for that Righteous Glory, so only a Glacial Shroud really for armor right now, and he can't really handle the Gangplank anymore. It's going to be quite a lot of damage. You can see that 500 as the damage is boosted by those kegs. Crits starting to come in the 700 range now too.
It's pretty scary stuff for SKT. Gold's still very even between these two teams. SK Telecom with the Dragon lead, but they seem to be slowly losing control of the map here.
Score's going to get over the wall right there. And Peekaboo just making sure he has a little bit more zone control. And Arrow with the advantage has this time built the Blade of the Ruined King. That'll help him self-peel from the Riven, in addition to all of the CC that KT possesses in this game, and at least he could be a tank buster against Maokai. There's a lot of tank busting that's going on from KT. They have so many damage sources, but it comes down to the positioning of the team fights. They basically, Peekaboo and Score have to play extremely well to keep the backline safe. If that Riven ever gets back there, it will be an absolute nightmare.
How does SKT extend the lead that they have? Extend the pressure lead that they've at least had. They're dragging up. But it feels like, honestly, the Riven, so good in lane. Of course, the Ignite picking up the kills. Now without the teleport, can't really opt into the split push so effectively. So it feels like they really have to get ward control over objectives and play the objective game, which is always a risk when you're talking about a Riven. Maybe when a teleports up should get in the back line, but playing around the power of Faker's Riven, a melee champion, a strong split pusher, maybe the make or break point in the next 10 minutes for SKT.
Well, looks like KT Rolsa's going to take a turret lead now as well, as they take that top tier 1. That's all outer turrets down in favor of KT. And it's going to make it tougher for SK Telecom to have that dragon control they did before. Someday coming in, throws down the powder keg. There's another one. Faker gets out though.
Line those up particularly well. Probably hoping to get a little bit of damage or potentially a slow in there so Peekaboo could follow it up. But no overlap, just going to clog the choke point instead.
Infinity Edge, Trinity Force, and the cooldown reduction boots. Someday is certainly a big deal and honestly needs to be checked just as well as you check Arrow when it comes to damage. And 3 damage dealers, 3 massive damage dealers for KT.
Yeah, looking really strong at the moment. So what do you do if you're SKT? Can you wait it out? The late game damage for KT is so high. I mean, I feel like you have to make something happen.
Yeah, it's just a question of how you do that. Because they kind of have to operate around Faker right now. And as long as KT has information about where Faker is, they can just keep sitting here and farming.
The objective game, I think, is the one ace in the hole SKT have, sorry, get the wards, the pink wards around the likes of Baron and Dragon. You have the Ashe Arrow for initiation. It's when the QSSs start coming specifically onto the likes of Arrow and Someday not as necessary with the remove Scurvy, but onto Arrow especially. If they can't turn and force a fight with the Ashe Arrow, they're going to struggle to actually make the most out of this Riven power spike in the next 5 minutes.
SKT really wants this blue buff. Bang's nowhere nearby as well.
They're not really going to be able to contest that, and they are just going to have to watch it as it goes down. SKT still has an outside shot to try and stack up some of these dragons too, but the team fight getting scarier and scarier for KT, and honestly this is also the first time in the series that we've seen decent vision control from KT. They've actually been able to set up a line of wards in the river for really the first time and deny a lot of the deep wards that just flooded their jungle by SKT in the last couple of matches. So we'll see if they can actually use that information to its fullest effect. It's like Bang potentially looking for an arrow right there, but KT just wants to charge down the mid lane, and
there's Someday.
Oh,
that's a lot of damage on the Faker. Wow. SKT hiding in a ward. That's not going to help too much.
Well, those barrels start to tick down further or faster and faster, so he can start deploying them and detonating them extremely quickly once you get up to higher levels.
SKT, they want to fight this. They're going in. Faker onto Someday, takes so much damage. Martin came from behind. Arrow onto Peekaboo. Score, goes in. Wolf gets a nice slicing Maelstrom. A lot of stuns, but gets killed by Nagne. Faker manages to take down Someday. That's bad for KT as Nagne goes down as well. And SKT, they found the team fight they were looking for. They get the ace. Triple kill for Bang. And now things are going right back SK Telecom's way.
Someday was having so much success getting those little pokes off that he overextended, even with removed Scurvy and Flash up, was tracked down, died first, and so did KT's hopes of holding up around this Baron, of scaling up, because it's going to be a free, uncontested Baron to SKT, and maybe a couple of turrets too. Yeah,
Faker just trying to push this wave up right now so they can use that Baron buff as quickly as possible to maximize their advantage. Not only that, but Marin got a very good teleport in onto that back line. Again, it was all about KT. You can see how squishy they are if their back line. Score's not in position right now to defend his teammates with a disengaged explosive cast. Wolf also with the flash. Nagne and Someday basically do no damage in this team fight. One, thanks to the exhaust from Wolf, and two, thanks to the exhaust onto Someday rather, and then just getting onto Nagne immediately.
And there's Dragon number 3 now for SK Telecom. In that fight, Faker flashed one of the barrels Someday put down too, and that let him kill him.
But the big question is,
stuff.
Why are Cassiopeia and Cassiopeia and Gangplank so far up the lane with their Gragas not in position for disengage? There was clearly some sort of communication error, because they presented the initiation on a silver platter to a team we'd spent so long discussing lacked initiation options, even with the Ashe.
Yeah, they had to get that TP to work. And sorry about that. The exhaust was onto Faker in that last fight from Peekaboo, looked like. So no exhaust on SK Telecom.
Just like that. SKT with a 4,000 gold lead and right back into it again. Turret lead, Dragon lead. But now KT, they really need to kind of turtle this one out, don't they?
The split pushing threat of just Faker was being muted. It was about 10 minutes of passing free farm over to the likes of Gangplank. Faker with these items and now the Baron buff, and suddenly very hard to account for this Riven in a split push.
Pretty much just going to have to let this tier 2 in the bottom side go. Now, at this point though, SKT doesn't have that many options. Their siege with this composition is actually quite poor. You do have to be worried about the Gangplank ult being dropped on top of you in some sort of engage from KT, or just a barrel catching an Ashe out if she walks up to auto attack a turret. So banner of command there for Wolf to try and push this out. That's actually not going to be that great against a Gangplank.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he lacks an AD.
Yeah, well, they kill the kegs fast enough, maybe.
I guess so. Oh, Cannon Minion's actually getting some decent damage on. Faker finds Nagne. He's going to QSS out of the ultimate. Still goes down. The turret did enough, and now SKT needs to be very careful. Cannon Barrage comes in. Is this KT's moment? Flashes across the board, and SK Telecom needs a major disengage. Luckily for them, the lanes are pushing in their favor. No Dragon, no Baron for KT to take advantage of, but a dangerous moment for SK Telecom.
Well, I mean, they are getting a little bit over aggressive again in this particular game. The closing in the last game, and this one hasn't been the cleanest. And that was a bit of a disrespectful play. Remember, Marin doesn't have TP. You want to try and push onto these inhibitor turrets, you can just get collapsed on.
I'd say it was a low percentage play, would be probably too complimentary from SKT. Why is Faker trying an all-in when Marin doesn't have teleport, when they couldn't really skirmish effectively? They honestly lost the minimum for what was a silly play from Faker.
Well, certainly got a decent lead either way. 6,000 gold at this point. But yeah, you need to close that out a little bit cleaner.
I'm actually surprised to see the Spirit Visage on Someday in this game. It does give you some of that CDR and help in the split pushing against the Maokai, but at the same time, most Gangplanks just like to build pure damage and be that big glass cannon. And they do need quite a bit of damage in this one. Nagne opting for the Rylai's here. He needs that survivability and the ability to kite out against the Riven.
Is that really a relevant factor in a team fight that's going to be very unorganized with the likes of the Flash, Cannon Ultimate coming in a laning phase? Sure, if there was a split push situation, 1v1, absolutely, but the Rylai's is a very strong pickup on Cassiopeia, but in terms of the actual Riven matchup, it's probably too little too late at this point.
Faker's still pushing up that bot lane. Nobody's going to contest this guy at this point. With SKT, do you think they can just sort of wait it out till the next dragon? Or do you think they need to kind of push ahead here?
It's the safest option. They're very flash reliant for any sort of turret dive, but the flash is only now up for Bang, Marin, and Faker. So look, they could try the aggressive move, but the safer play, definitely to wait for the dragon.
Yeah, those kegs are dying very quickly now.
SKT has really been on point at taking out those kegs immediately as soon as they can there.
Yeah.
So that actually has helped their siege a little bit, but this is a very impotent siege. They're gonna try and use this last banner minion and see what they can get.
Yeah, Marin coming down to help out as well. Arrow taking some hits. And that turret getting poked down, but poked down very slowly. And there's more barrels getting thrown around this game than a 10-hour version of or marathon of Donkey Kong.
It's a lot of barrels.
It is.
Not as successful as Donkey Kong 2. He can't really stop what's going on.
True, barrels are good at Donkey Kong. Well, they're good for KT. They're just not good for SKT.
Just such a low percentage play to try the engage. You mess it up. Thresh Box, Cassiopeia ultimate, the Gragas ultimate, even the Gangplank. There's so much AoE to punish any sort of misfire on the turret dive. But again, just wait. The Baron control, the Dragon control is the most reliable way for SKT to win this game.
Yeah, well, they've got some interesting timing things to worry about since Dragon is coming up a little bit before Baron, but not like a lot before. Do you think there's room for KT to try to contest the other objective?
I think you at least have to try. There isn't any kind of sustain onto Bang, so it would be risky for him to try and solo that Dragon right now, but Faker will be able to do that if they need him. But again, that puts no damage threat onto a potential Baroning KT. So it's actually hard for them to do both objectives at once with this itemization and this composition.
The moment KT walk up to contest an objective, look at how many flank wards there is from Marin. He has just a plethora of options to come in with home guards. So warding your flanks is just, clearing your flanks is just not possible for KT. Maokai will get into the backline, whichever objective they try.
Now they're going to start the Dragon right now. SK Telecom knows teleport coming in from behind for Marin. Will SKT get anything out of this? Faker comes in, has to dodge back away from those powder kegs. They're going to go after the Dragon now. They want their fourth, and KT can only watch as SK Telecom puts themselves one Dragon away from that huge buff. Marin coming from the side, Arrow! It hits Arrow, and here comes all the huge slicing Maelstrom. Faker gets the first kill, and SK Telecom all over KT. Faker has to cleanse out of that hook. But that is exactly what they wanted. 80 carry gone. Faker just meleeing that powder keg. He's not worried.
for the hook right there, but there's just not enough follow-up damage. And that engage, it was all set up. SKT knew exactly what they were doing.
Yep, now they're going in. Inhibitor turret getting a bit low. Faker taking a lot of damage from the turret. Marin going deep, but the turret's out of the way now. Here comes SK Telecom. Faker coming in for more damage. Nagne's going to get taken out. No, he's not. He lives for the moment. Bang, though, gets the kill into Someday, and without the damage, that's going to be it. Score getting low. Nagne back to Fountain. Can SKT close it right here? Can they win Champion Summer? Looks like they don't want to go for it right now. They're playing it out safely, taking out another inhibitor. They want that 100% chance of victory.
Why not play it academic? You've got the win. Literally, you're banging down the wall, banging down on the door of the win. They're so set up to win this game. They've even overcome their difficulty in breaking the base now that they've got 2 inhibitor turrets down. SKT, the one confident prediction, okay, I thought KT would win. The one confident prediction I would have bet money on is that this game would not have been over in 3 matches, and it's looking like it's going to be.
Yeah, especially with the matches that we saw in the second round, Robin. KT was much more competitive, and they held on here, but their mistakes in positioning have been punished so brutally.
Oh, can they sneak a Baron away? SK Telecom already nearby. They're going to see him with the Scrying Orb. I don't think that's going to work.
KT has not had a window into anything in this match.
No.
Even when they tried to contest the Dragon right there, the proper play was already set up by SK Telecom. They had the answer immediately. Not only that, but when it failed to work and they got the Dragon anyway, but then they just set up the flank even after that because Marin was so deep in the enemy jungle. And if KT can't disengage, they have to engage KT or SKT from one direction and kite backwards if their backline is boxed in.
Well, they hooked Marin. Marin just pops that ult though, backs away.
Just gonna wait on the cooldown of the ult before they try another initiation. Gangplank's clearing waves in mid. He can only do so much against 2 downed inhibitors. As Faker's added a Randuin's Omen over to all his damage.
Why not, man? He's already got so much damage. Doesn't really need much more at this point, but the armor certainly helps. And here goes SKT. They find a pick. Well, Peekaboo flashes out of it. They get a flash, though. Are they going to try to push something else now? SKT, again, no rush here. They've got 4 dragons. They've got 2 inhibitors down. They don't need to take any chances, and being that those chances might make KT get a small window to win, I don't think you want to do that. If you're SKT, you want to close this one out now.
Well, KT's damage is still very big.
Exactly.
So giving up the wrong team fight could still see them lose this game. So I agree. Play it out methodically. Just play around the Baron.
Someday has teleport. There's a disengaged Faker. In a little bit of trouble, actually. And behind, he's going 1v3. Faker cleanses out of the death sentence. Meanwhile, Maokai kills Arrow already. Faker in trouble. What was I even talking about? There goes Peekaboo. He's going to go down. Nagne does kill Faker. I guess he was in trouble. Never mind. There goes Peekaboo. Nagne. Cannon Barrage comes in, but where's the rest of the support for KT? Only Nagne score and Someday remaining, and Nagne burning down. He'll get taken out by Wolf's Ignite. Score and Someday on the run. No Faker. But SKT not too worried about that. Well, as the super minions push down the Nexus turrets.
Someday just couldn't get into that fight. He was trying to defend the base, and he had teleport up, but SKT knew that there wasn't
on a mission.
Uh-oh.
Look at the minimap.
Yeah, he is. Wolf trying to distract on these teleports.
Arrow. Oh my gosh, is this Ash Arrow gonna hit? This Ash Arrow dodge, but Bang comes in, takes one inhibitor turret. He's going for the next one. They're delaying it, and Bang is going to win Champion Summer for his team, SK Telecom. 3-0 in the spring season, 3-0 in the summer season. This is the year of SKT.
What a dominating performance. I mean, I thought it was going to be one-sided in spring, but I did not think it was going to be one-sided this time.
Me neither, not in a million years, man. I said 3-2 SKT before this, did not expect a 3-0. We're all shocked.
And shame on you, Monte Cristo, shame on me.
Yeah,
SKT,
shame on you guys.
Every time a team was built up, first it was Janair, then KT, then KOO Tigers.
Oh,
maybe these teams can stop SKT's win streak. It was actually CJ in the end, but when it came to the rubber match, the big match of the season, no one in Korea can shape up to SK Telecom T1.
I'm just absolutely blown away by this, guys. I mean, 3-0 in the spring season finals against the KOO Tigers, 3-0 now in summer against the KT Rollster organization. I mean, who is going to stop SK Telecom from winning Worlds this year?
That's going to be the big question. It doesn't look like it's going to be a Korean team, if anything, because we've got some time before Worlds, but I just don't think KT or KU at this point have any hope, really.
And the team that showed the most promise, EDG, may not even make it to Worlds, so LGD, maybe they're the ones you put up, but SKT reigns supreme in Korea.
That's right, and as they pick up the Champions Cup for a victory, we'd like to thank you guys for watching Champion Summer again from the casting desk, Noah, Papa Smithy, and Monte Cristo. We've had a lovely time. You guys are wonderful. We'll see you later this year. Of course, Worlds Gauntlet next week, so don't miss that. But again, thanks to the production staff at OGN, always putting on an amazing show. Right now, though, the moment all about SK Telecom. Enjoy it, guys. We'll catch you next season.